It's Necromancer Tai. He is the object of everyone's adoration and hated by people. There is anger and resentment on people's faces. He is accused of dirty deeds involving the bodies of the dead. The hatred grows into a bright flame, from which Tai pleads for help from the higher beings. Rays of sunshine appeared among the clouds. A white ball with many arms began to descend to the ground. His hands reached for the Necromancer, a look of fear on his face. The Supreme Being takes him away, releasing him from the tongues of flame. The Necromancer awakens from his sleep. He is thrilled with the beautiful sky and thinks he has died and gone to heaven after all. Since his life sucked, he decided to have a blast. The Necromancer threw off all his clothes and all his grace. During the naked celebration, he noticed that he was surrounded by a gloomy forest filled with human remains. Tai doubted that he had gone to heaven, but there was still a smirk on his face because he didn't care because he was alone. Mary continued running a naked marathon and didn't notice the girl standing in the shadows. The marathoner turned around fearfully. Her graceful hair, standing behind him was a beautiful girl in a maid outfit with ash-colored hair and lilac-colored eyes. There's a look of calm on her face, and the Necromancer resents the look directed at him. As he began to dress, he asked her if she had saved him. The girl questions whether he is a necromancer. The gray-haired guy looks at her and introduces himself as the greatest necromancer Tai. The marathoner bows to the girl and calls her a beauty, asking how she ended up in such a remote place. They stand in front of each other, surrounded by a dark forest. The girl appears to be a system, a form to facilitate communication with the human race. The system is in charge of the village's development and needs a necromancer immediately. She looks at the human remains and the Jinsho village table. A surprised necromancer assumes he's been rescued for help with his job. The system responds by agreeing, and as payment promises to make him a deity. A true deity? The girl announces that the white-haired guy will become an employee of the game company Nesser and bestows 1% energy in the form of a brightly colored cube. The system awaits agreement to the conditions imposed. Her gaze lowered. Grabbing the girl's leg and drooling, the necromancer agrees. It's getting on her nerves. She abruptly raised her hand with the cube upward, after which she transferred the energy through a strong punch to the drooling man. Crybaby is puzzled by the act. Ash reports that the process is complete and the energy has been transferred. Tai, with a soul full of hope, thinks he's become a god. System's small heel flies into the necromancer's ass, forcing him to get the job done. Shaking the dirt off his clothes and with a smile full of happiness, asks where he should start. Gotta make a man. Make a man? Happy, with a mouthful of drool, hurries off to fulfill the duty. Tai lunges at the girl, falling to the ground with her. In an immodest position and tattered dress, the system asks about his next steps. With a clear conscience and joy on his soul, he says, "Of course." The necromancer's hand travels up her waist, but suddenly her body starts emitting bright rays of light. Tai is disappointed, because the system turning into a white giant ball meant resurrecting people, not breeding. The gray-haired idiot is surprised that he can resurrect people. The system, assembled from particles, reported that the energy helps create the perfect living dead. The necromancer's dream came true and he set to work. Of the remains of human bodies, in his hands was a skull. Tai looks at the front of the skull and ponders. With sheer delight and enthusiasm, the drooling man gets down to his business. Touching the skull with your hand, the energy transfers to the object. The remains of the bones are reassembled into a single piece. From this formed the innocent body of a pretty maiden. The system is in awe of the necromancer's abilities. But she thinks he's an incorrigible pervert who just resurrected a pile of bones and tries to kiss her. The pervert, turning the system's attention to himself, creates girls at the snap of his fingers. Completely nude, with great shapes and beautiful faces appear one after another. The system reports that this location will be the point of appearance for the Nesser players. Necromancer needs to create more NPCs, start building, assign roles, and meet players. The girl noticed the disappearance of the drooling one. The pervert, in an abundance of happiness and bliss, is surrounded by naked girls. Silently and hostilely, the gray-haired woman adjusts her dress. Noticing the bright rays, the necromancer turned around fearfully. The shadow of a huge white ball covered him, and he was swallowed by its maw. The naked beauties were embarrassed by what they saw. After spitting the pervert to the ground, the system reported important information. Now the necromancer becomes the head of Sanshu village. With a smile on his face, agreeing, he says, "Tomorrow, I'll start," and laying his head on the ground, emits his spirit. A dark forest filled with lively sounds coming from skeletons with axes. Trees fall to the ground one by one with a crash. A gray-haired guy sits with a piece of paper in his hands, while behind him a skeleton chops down a tree. Tai ponders about what is depicted on the paper, and the map shows a hotel, a smithy, a tavern, a healing center. The necromancer is missing something. A gray-haired pervert has a brothel on his mind. Suddenly, Ty's joyful face was replaced by fear at the fierce-looking system, who appeared behind him with the words, "Public what?" The Necromancer hater jumped up in fright and excused himself with words about public transportation for the players. The system, with a piercing stare, lets him know it's watching him, which gives Ty a nightmare. The girl inquired about the progress of the village construction, to which the gray-haired boy responded with positive progress. The system, looking at the happy underdog, thinks of the sewer made next to the well. The girl taps the skeleton's face, pondering that this idiot should not be allowed to develop the village. There's no telling how it might turn out. She decided to find out what the deal was with raising the dead, to which Ty tensely responded. The Necromancer melted into a smile and said that the perfect undead summoning technique was hard. The system pondered his words, because Ty only has 1% of the total strength, and applying the technique requires incredible effort. While the gray-haired guy counts something on his fingers, Sistema keeps thinking about the technique. It still needs to know the details of anatomy. Sure, you can resurrect 100 people in a couple days, but there are still 1,000 dead in the forest. The girl ordered the construction to cease and proceed with the resurrection. Ty, you still haven't said how much you need, but it's almost 6,000 ready? The system is shocked and can't believe its ears. The speed freak suggested counting the number of people resurrected. 5,871 undead, including 2,333 humans, 1,314 elves, 666 orcs, 520 dwarves, 999 goblins, 36 demons, and 3 long-winged angels. Ty placed them in the cave and asked them to stay there. The gray-haired weirdo doesn't understand why there is such a diversity of races and how they ended up in this place. The system lets all his questions pass his ears because it still can't believe the number of people resurrected in such a short period of time. The Necromancer asked Ash why she didn't resurrect herself after all. With 1% energy, the process is long. After which, with a positive attitude, he suggested we swap roles. Ty builds, system resurrects. The system exhaled heavily, after which she said that it does not belong to the Nesser dimension. Interference is impossible. Neither spells nor attacks can be used by the system. Crybaby Ty doesn't understand why she can be so nonchalant about it. Why else would a Necromancer be here? The sooner he finishes his work, the sooner he can become a deity. At this time, the system said it would continue building, and the Smarmy said it would continue resurrecting. Ty, except the village is almost built. The system is dumbfounded, and Ty has fallen back into fear and anxiety. Snotty said the stench of the corpse might not have made her notice. Soon there will be people living in the village, so we need to get rid of it. An indescribable whirlwind has begun at the place where they are. The atmosphere of the air changes, and the world around them begins to lighten. Finally, the sun peeked out from behind the clouds, and the trees came to life and began to take on their green crowns. And thanks to the work of Necromancer Ty, the dark, gloomy forest has been transformed into a sunlit village full of natural life. The system underestimated the gray-haired guy because as the head of the village, he is irreplaceable. Ty was tired. Absorbing the stench had taken a lot of effort. He decided to reward himself with a hug from the lush-breasted system, thinking she would approve of the action. But the girl went from admiration to contempt for the pervert. System pulled the strap of her dress off her shoulder, preparing to change her physical body. Snotlout was startled by this action, remembering the consequences of past times, and bounced away from Ash. The girl spared the pervert. She asked him what he would do with the resurrected, since they had complete loss of consciousness and memory. It's not a problem for Ty. The Necromancer knows a village nearby. He decided to copy the memory of the inhabitants, alter it slightly, and insert it into the resurrected. Voila, you can't tell the inebriates from the common people. But the system decided to stop it. Yes, it might work, but they won't develop personalities. Full of ego, the gray-haired, perverted Ty asked not to worry about it, because personality could be formed from dreams. He's cocky. He thinks he can do anything because he's a future god. The system, looking at this idiot's ego, considers it an undeniable fact that he is perfect at necromancy. Ty snapped her out of her musings and turned her attention to the method he was talking about. The lush-breasted beauty with sapphire eyes says she owns an atelier, and her dream is to marry Ty. A daring, lushly shaped, amber-eyed girl is the owner of a tavern. She wants to marry Ty the Fool. A long-haired beauty in latex clothing with a necklace around her neck is the owner of a grocery store. She dreams of having Tayo in her bed. A pervert full of self-confidence and ego will help fulfill their dreams. System. And you won't stop. I guess you didn't get it the first time. Ty repents, vows to mend his ways, swears by all gods and feet. A necromancer's punishment Best not seen. NPCs of different domains interact with each other as if they hadn't been resurrected. The system, having finished punishing the young man, thinks it has overestimated the pervert. He needs to be watched. Snotty calls out the girl with words about how she has no sense of humor. System. Next step, take care of the hierarchy. Lying in a puddle of drool, the snotty Ty is surprised at the next task. Ash explains that in addition to workers, a hierarchy is needed in the village. The system, with energy, shows the Necromancer the information. As players gain combat experience and complete missions, they will level up. The higher the level, the greater the combat capability. Ty delves into this information, looking at the scoreboard with the players' names and their level. The system, drawing the gray-haired boy's attention to the map, informs him that the monsters outside of Shinshu village are also divided into ranks. The higher the rank, the more experience is gained by defeating monsters. System. From level 90 onwards, there is a celestial sphere. Ty, you are now at level 90. A golden line appears above the surprised Necromancer's head, indicating his level. He clenched his fist, and he talked about how fucking strong he was. But suddenly he fell into thought. A smirk appeared on the gray-haired guy's face. Ty, hey, system, what's your level? I bet it's lower than mine. The system easily and casually informs him that it has a 9,999 level. These words fall on the idiot's head, shocking him to a bloody nose. Ty doesn't know how to live if such monsters exist, and one of them is his employer. That's why it is necessary to assign roles, their actions. It is necessary to assign NPS according to their level. The Necromancer suggests that the distribution of roles is necessary for the plot. The system confirms his hunch. Misunderstanding Ty doesn't fully understand what it means or what it's for. The girl explains that the main branch of the plot will be subdivided into tasks. It will take all of the Necromancer's life experience and imagination. The gray-haired guy ponders. He says he has never thought about it, to which the system asks him to take his time. The responsibility lies solely with Taya. The village, sunlit and full of life, is thriving. The system and Ty look at this picture and marvel. After all, Zinshu village will be very lively very soon. The Necromancer wondered about handymen, such as janitors. Ash agreed with the gray-haired fellow's thought, to which the idiot clenched his fist, bent his arm at the elbow, and spoke solemnly of the necessity of brute force. After saying that, Ty proceeded to resurrect the orcs. Suddenly a thought flashed through his head. If orcs are men, what will the girls be crazy about? Ty nervously and jealously clenched his fists and gave up on the idea. But here lies the skeleton of a female orc. The pervert still doesn't like the idea. The Necromancer, sitting amidst a pile of bones, feels doomed. The system is interested in the gray-haired guy's progress. That idiot had another idea. Probably not a good one. Glamorgan, a place that doesn't look as friendly as the village of Shinshaw. Tall buildings block the sun's rays. In an alley, bandits harass a father and his daughter, taking away food and demanding more from the man. First and foremost, the battered father defends his young daughter, who has fear on her face. Bandit silently kicks his father off his leg. A little girl runs up to her father and tries to wake him up while the creeps stand not far away. Bread? That sneaky asshole says it's not the bread he wants, it's the girl. Out of fear, the girl starts to cry. She is very afraid. She wants her father to protect her. Bastard. That's my daughter! But these bastards don't care what their father says. They express their total indifference. They want meat. The bastard tried to stab the girl's father, but he managed to grab the thug's arm. The villain is shocked at what's happening. The father, stopping the bastards, orders his little girl to run away quickly. She doesn't want to, but she pushes back. The baby is still crying as well, but begins to turn around toward the street. She started running and screaming, asking for help. The bastards didn't appreciate such antics and chased after their prey. The fattest bastard has caught up and grabbed the girl. Don't give her a chance to escape. He's gonna stab her. Daughter! An unexpected twist, and everyone is shocked at what's happening. The greatest necromancer, Ty himself, stopped the blow by grabbing the blade with his hand, thus protecting the girl from being killed. She is genuinely excited and can't believe her eyes. Who the hell are you? With one punch, Ty turns the fat bastard into twisted lard. The force of the blow is so great that this piece of lard punches through the wall one by one. The second scumbag doesn't understand how this is possible, which made him fall on his ass. Longshot wants to escape and is already moving towards the breached wall while Ty mutters, "Calling!" With a single movement, energy begins to appear in his hand. Piles of bones begin to come out from under my feet, as if there was water rather than a rocky surface. Skeletons gain strength and are assembled anatomically correct. Ty channeled his skeletal energy towards the scum that wanted to flee. Kill him. The gray-haired guy exhaled and sat down on the ground, addressing the father and his daughter. A necromancer offers a job. promising to provide lodging, food, and medical care. The father doesn't say anything back to the proposal. He wonders who the man who saved them is. The gray-haired boy fell silent and smiled slightly. I'm Tai, head of the newcomer village. Tai thought that finding workers would be easier, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. The necromancer is in an uncomfortable position. He is confused and doesn't know how to get out of this situation properly. He tries to appease the workers' fervor by promising to find a solution to the workers' problems. But the residents are not satisfied with his answer. Everyone is dissatisfied. Some are even thinking of overthrowing the government. Tai is confused. Woo, finally finished. The necromancer catches sight of the girl behind the tree behind him. The idiot turns around so abruptly to the little girl that she freaks out. He asks her what she's doing here. The little girl is confused and looks like she's about to cry. The necromancer gently stroked the girl's head. Tai said to head back, since everyone was tired, including her. That's the girl he saved in Glamorgan. Yes, you remember to rest too. This little girl's ancestors are brave enough to cross the Hungduan Ridge. The father's name is Chen Leju. The daughter's name is Qin Qing Ning. Leju presented Tai with a gift of alcohol he had made, different from the low-grade ale in the tavern. Lekju uses ancestral knowledge. He makes wine from fruits in the forest. The taste is amazing. Of course, father and daughter were not the only ones. Tai took in over 100 victims and distributed them according to skill. The village has expanded a lot. Before, there were only bones here. He turned around, calling back his name. He was summoned by the system, which picked up on the fact that the necromancer had solved the labor shortage. The gray-haired woe-is-me head replies that everything is fine, although there is almost a rebellion against him now. The system reminds him that each person is his responsibility. This drooling pervert is once again thinking about the lush girls that appeared in Shinsho village. The idiot's behavior is clearly getting on the system's nerves. With a fierce look, she reminded him that he was supposed to zone wild animal areas. Of course, Tai had forgotten about this task. The grief-stricken necromancer pervert began to think of quite obscene things. The system is still waiting for a response, and in doing so, becoming more ferocious and threatening. Dripping with sweat, Tai excuses himself with the fact that there were a couple of flaws left, after which he escapes, keeping himself bone intact. A bright, sunlit forest. It was unclear whether there was any life left in the forest before the necromancer arrived. But as it turns out, there are critters here, and they're pretty dangerous. Tai uses a technique of recognition. A high-level beast was in a level zone, an order of magnitude lower. The gray-haired guy thought it was strange. The ferocious growl of a winged tiger. I think we're in for a fight. Or rather, a fight to the death. The gray wolf does not relent from the actions of the first and enters the battle. The gray raptor manages to sink his teeth into his opponent's neck. He manages to draw first blood. The fight started so quickly that Tai didn't notice the second animal nearby. The necromancer once again uses the recognition technique. Unfortunately, the winged tiger was unable to overpower his opponent, and no wonder. After all, the combat level of the gray wolf is much higher than the combat level of the winged tiger. The fool, being not far from the predator, decided to change the area of this combat level's location. At this time, the gray wolf turns his attention to this empty-headed guy. The predator is only too happy to replenish his food supply. The gray-haired fellow was so engrossed in his duty that he didn't notice the gray wolf approaching from behind. Tai noticed the shadow covering him and turned around. Without wasting a moment, the predator leaps upon his prey. His fierce gaze is hungry for the creature's death. The necromancer placed his palm under the wolf's paw. Weakness and bravery are clearly the necromancer's specialty. The wolf whimpered with pleasure, Tai enjoying the process as well. The gray-haired weirdo believes that the power of a furry beast will play to his advantage, as beasts must obey their alpha. Tai held a meeting among the animals, explaining the rules of the organization. He asked for a round of applause from those who understood. The animals are clearly not happy about such an idiot ruler, but the necromancer enjoys the proceedings, turning up his nose like Pinocchio. After the meeting ended, the gray-haired fellow dispersed all the beasts, ordering them to defend their level's area. The necromancer reopened the map with his energy. He had to make sure he was doing the right thing. While making notes on the map, he noticed a level 1 rat. Like a hunter, slowly and carefully Tai brought his hand closer to the rat. Grabbing her, he concluded that her level was very low even for a training beast. Continuing to hold the unfortunate rat by the tail, the necromancer considered what to do with it. Once again, an idea struck him. 2 poor rats were at his mercy and he started doing things. From 2 cute rats, only 1 name is left. Now it's an unidentified rat with a combat level of 0 to 4. That's better. But Tai never imagined that the rat he created would be called the most disgusting rat in history by the players. Standing on the ledge, the Necromancer was proud of the progress, for the village was almost complete. The sky is sprinkled with stars. The moon lights the way. It's time to welcome our players. From the galaxy, we're hurtling toward planet Earth. We're getting closer and closer to her. There it is, in all the beauty of the land, sands, mountains, oceans, and seas. A human world filled with tall houses and artificial light. It's the time of electronics that everyone has. Something caught the guy's attention on his phone. A commercial for a new game. A multi-story building with only one window on fire. A red-haired guy sits at a desk wearing virtual reality goggles. He starts unzipping the damn fly. He exerts his strength and puffs in the name of pleasure. On the monitor screen is a lush-breasted damsel with brown hair. She is dressed in a very exciting way. This guy takes a napkin for readiness. He's waiting for the girl to get naked. She lowered her strap. The red-haired lad is thrilled and impatiently awaits the continuation. Her gentle hand slowly travels down her chest. Loading. The masturbator is puzzled. Nesser's large-scale 6D VR holographic network game Nesser has launched. Beta test available today to the first 50 players. Join. The masturbator was not happy with the commercial. It discouraged him from continuing. He hastened to close this advertisement, clicking furiously on the mouse buttons. What? The red-headed masturbator is furious that the ad won't close. He began punitive measures. Ad blocker. Loading, please wait. The masturbator begins to rejoice in his victory over advertising. Loading. He hopes the program has removed all the ads. He was very close to winning. The red-haired guy slams the monitor against the desk in a rage. The commercial ended and he put his virtual reality goggles back on. The masturbator wants to finish what he started. Viewable videos containing violent scenes and other prohibited footage have been removed. The masturbator feels lousy. He's pissed about the Nesser game commercials. The guy looks at the family photo and says, "If she's gonna suck, you better not be in the media." Googie is the world's largest internet search engine. A girl in a strict suit reports that all major websites have been hit by the Nesser virus attack. Every effort is being made to find countermeasures. Googie's executive director, Huang, he took note of the girl's words. The director is in a stupor. The Nesser commercials are incredible. They can't be blocked. Huang. He doesn't understand how a holographic VR game can be realized. Given their scale, the 50-player node is just a gimmick. Their marketing people are top-notch. The phone is ringing. Director Huang. He gets a call from a masturbator's son named Quan. The father wonders why the son is calling at such a late hour. Quan said he found out about the problems in the local system. Huang. He put the phone sharply with the screen down. The director ordered the girl to conduct a mass disconnection of consumers from the system. The subordinate is reluctant to start work. She doubts the correctness of her actions and fears something. Huang he pledged to take responsibility for the consequences. Swan listens to the beeps from his phone with a smirk. A countdown began on the young man's glued monitor. 6, 5. An electronic medium with a mass disconnect program is inserted into the processor. 3. Initiate a disconnect from the system. The residents started having network problems. 2. The internet shutdown has begun. 1. Here's thanks, Daddy. ID, B. Luo Huan Qian. Registration complete. Under the cover of night by the light of the moon, several masked men near a white van are under someone's window. The girl is sedated with chloroform. 3 masked creeps surrounded the girl and put her to sleep. They were about to load her into the van, but they noticed a witness. This is Shige, a brave high school student and the family's talent in wushu. He's angered by the actions of scum. The scumbags are aggressive and have no intention of leaving the boy behind. "Kid, you gonna get in the car yourself or else?" said the thug, kneading his fists. The 2 masked guys rush toward the boy, fists clenched. One masked devil takes a swing. Shige is clearly scared. Malloy masters hand-to-hand combat techniques, leaving the bandits stunned. The bastard didn't see this coming. Shige throws this guy off balance with ease. Malloy is deadly serious. He threw the guy to the pavement with all his might. The partner's ready to run from the back. Shige notices this as the second bandit accompanies his attack with insults. The scoundrel is about to stab the boy in the back. The blonde Shige is not a finger and turns around to face his opponent. He grabs the naive masked idiot by the face. And with all his might, he takes this guy over his knee to the ground, standing, untouched by a finger, over defeated opponents. Shige remembered the girl he had come to help. A third scumbag was waiting behind the car, hoping to strike unexpectedly. He clutched something tighter in his hand and bided his time. Shige didn't expect to see the opponent so close. The masked scoundrel slammed into the boy tightly. Malletz pushes his opponent off. He felt a sharp pain and cast his eyes downward. The masked scoundrel plunged a dagger into the young man's stomach. Shige is stunned, blood dripping onto the pavement. The boy's in a lot of pain. The guy's eyes slowly close. He thinks he's going to die. He hears someone's voice. Found you, Shige. The necromancer looks into his eyes with an idiotic grin. Shige asks Tai to rescue the girl from the van. The gray-haired guy headed toward the van. The boy thinks an earthquake has started, but he sees Tai lifting and shaking the car, which makes him stunned. The gray-haired guy pulled the girl out and threw the car. Shige thinks Tai is a monster. There was an explosion. The boy thinks he's hallucinating. He continues to hear the world. He sees the silhouette of a necromancer with a girl in his arms. The necromancer asks the boy if he can get up, but then tells him that only his soul will have to be taken. Shige opened his eyes and was surprised. The boy doesn't realize where he is and thinks he's gone to hell. What are those lumps on your chest? And there's nothing in the way down there. Shige is no longer the brave high school student and the family's talent in wushu. He became a girl. A necromancer appeared saying that the boy was very noisy, and he had succeeded in resurrecting the hero. Shige asked who he was, and the gray-haired guy introduced himself as Tai, the head of Shinshu village. The lush-breasted guy knows about this place. This village is the place from the game where newcomers gather. Shige, welcome to Nesser. Tai has a cordial conversation with Shige at the martial arts palace. They discuss online games and how to reach a mutual understanding in Nesser. The busty kid is thrilled with the realized work, which makes the necromancer's narcissism grow, and he turns his nose up higher. As soon as the players enter the village of Shinshu, the combat and magic systems are formed, or as they are called on the ground, warriors and mages. The gray-haired guy is telling this for a reason. He's going to put Shige in charge of the martial hierarchy. The boy exulted that the necromancer might as well have been a teacher himself and recalled him lifting the car. Tai can't teach martial arts. He just has a high level, and he's no match for Shige in ability. He studied earth culture where wushu is very common. The busty guy thinks the gray-haired idiot didn't get the idea. Shige remembered the division of warriors into legions. Necromancer shows that this is the second point of the hierarchy. As warriors become stronger, they move on to the next stage. After completing the requirements of the system, players choose their own specialization. Shige asks to provide it to him. He is knowledgeable about weapons. He is very interested in the magic system. He requests a meeting with a magician. But Tai stops the boy as they temporarily don't have a magic system. Is that how you do things? The gray-haired man slips his hand into his pocket to give something to the boy. In his palm were potions for Shige. The pudgy guy is surprised at what Tai provides him. The necromancer was carrying potions to cure the players. He wasn't in a position to sell medicines, much less find a vendor. The gray-haired guy suggests that Shige sell potions on his behalf, since training is unlikely to go without injuries. The boy agrees, but he fears the theft of the medicines. Tai says to charge for both training and potions. You can't carry a lot of potions if you want to. Every day, Shige needs to count the medicine and the proceeds. In case of theft, he should find the thief and sell him the dyed water under the guise of an enhanced potion for double the price. That's fraud! Shige tenses up at the cute appearance of a necromancer who thinks punishing a thief is a holy thing to do. Tai says goodbye to the lush-breasted boy, leaving the responsibility to him. Being a good manager means delegating responsibilities in a timely manner. The boy has nothing left to do and agrees with a doomed look. Shige clarified the name of the medicine. Proudly turning up his nose, the light-hearted necromancer reports that the name is easy to remember and reflects a connection to Shige. The gray-haired idiot endures the intrigue. Its name is Flavorful Shay! In a nervous impulse, the boy wants to ask one last question about his sex change. Narcissistic pervert Tai said it was his innocent whim because he wants a harem. Shige's patience reached its limit. He grabbed his weapon. Blazing with anger and not listening to the pervert's narcissistic rant, the lush-breasted Shu gripped his weapon tighter. His gaze is full of rage and he is determined. The technique of chrysanthemum dissected by the power of the dragon constellation. Without sparing any effort, Shu aims a kick at Tai's ass. My ass! The necromancer from human form switched to a soaring takeoff, for Shige was saved by the pervert. The system is disturbed by the screaming outside the window. She doesn't know what happened to the pervert. While the girl was trying to figure something out, the idiot flew into her room through the window. No emotion is expressed on the system's face. There is nothing to be surprised about anymore. Ash asked why he had come to see her. The gore necromancer revealed that there had been a scuffle with the head of the martial arts. The system doesn't mind Tai flying into her room. There's a case for him. She holds out the orb to him. That's 50 player data so far. Ty's job is to create vessels for them. The gray-haired guy looks at the glowing orb with interest. One player caught his attention. The following information pops up above Ty. Player nickname, Juan Quan. Male gender. Desired character gender, female. Desired appearance, sexy. The pervert is afraid the player is a pervert. The system explained that the sphere is a measurement control system. It will help him in his work. In addition, he needs to manage the forum. Necromancer has no idea what a forum is. A nervous clap on the table. Earth culture. I told you to study it. Were you too lazy? Says the system with a fierce look that makes Ty tuck his tail. The idiot necromancer says he's learned a lot, and the system asks what exactly. With a cheerful smile on his face, the gray-haired guy lists Lana Rhodes, Riley Reid, Mia Khalifa, and more. The system is not happy with this and asks to list further. Of course, an oodles of things Ty had learned. Sword Masters Online, a blade dissecting demons. Great taste on Remang. The system understood everything and started explaining how to use the forum. Necromancer needs to touch the sphere. It touches on the sphere. Many inscriptions appeared above Ty's head. I'm a hacker, but I couldn't hack Nesser. Beta test is a scam? Yeah, just another simple game. No one teaches wushu morals, besides Nesser's internet is down. Pop-up ads are annoying sucks. Welcome, Admin001. With admin rights, the gray-haired necromancer can delete, publish, give silence to anyone. The system asks for help with removing bad comments about Nesser. Let Nesser do a restart of registration. It's not fair. 100% foreigners did it. That's why only we have lags. 50 seats is very few, some kind of cheating. Ty is surprised at the number of comments. There's that idiotic smirk again. He places his hands on the keyboard. Great! Something was posted by a necromancer on the forum. Usher 99 village head. All girls with breasts from size 3 can register out of turn. Just text me. Pervert gets a slap. Ty was forced to take the job rather than waste time on nonsense. A necromancer has a lot of work to do, but it's a joy to resurrect beauties every day. The pervert has taken up the cause and wants to see the profile of the first player. Ty pondered the user's wish. A pervert with eyes full of enthusiasm fulfills the player's request. And once again a pile of bones becomes flesh. Resurrects a living being once again. She is a lush maiden, with eyes the color of sapphire, with heavenly colored hair in a revealing white garment. The pervert is being watched by the system. There is 1 day left until the beta test closes. The necromancer is standing near a pile of bones with a girl sitting next to him and himself studying something. Ty is puzzled. The demands of the players overwhelm the underdog. He simply doesn't know how to realize the wishes of the players. Naive guy hopes there are normal players. Ty had lost touch with sanity. His patience was wearing thin. The players' wishes went out the window, causing the necromancer to shatter the screen. An ordinary day in Shinsho village. The girl noticed that the sky had darkened. Some winged raptor blocked the sun with its body, forming a shadow. A powerless Ty realized that it's not the work that ruins people, it's the demands of the clients. Unfortunately, he has yet to assign roles. A little girl named King Ning called out to the head. A frightened little girl reports that there is trouble in the village. The raptor landed on the ground with a clatter, spreading its wings. It turned out to be a bronze nightmare dragon with a combat level of 85. The people are terrified, and the dragon is ready to burn the village to the ground. The bronze nightmare collapses buildings with its tail, burns houses with its fiery breath, and unchokes crops. Knock it off. Ty watches the dragon from above and waits for it to start listening to his commands. Residents have noticed the chapter and are waiting for them to be rescued. The intrepid necromancer lands on the dragon's nose and reminds it of the rules of decorum. Before a strong opponent, one must bow down. With a single blow, Ty slams the dragon's face into the ground, causing an earthquake. The necromancer tells the dragon to leave and listen to his instinct for self-preservation. But the bronze nightmare doesn't care about the man's words. Ty extinguishes the enormous beast's fervor with a sharp movement of his foot. In place of the dragon, a dark cloud begins to fly around. The necromancer turned around and said, "The Nesser beta test has officially started. We ask players to log in before 12 o'clock. Otherwise, you agree to voluntarily withdraw. We are expecting you and wish you a pleasant game." Cut! Ty was tired of filming. It was a video for Earthlings participating in the game's beta test. With a happy look, the village head informed the system that he had distributed the tasks and the NPCs would be assisting the players and issuing quests. The system noted that Ty has become more forward-thinking, and the latter is watching for reactions to the video in the sphere. The narcissistic idiot raises his self-esteem by daydreaming. Players like what the villagers have done. They particularly liked the hero of the video. What he saw made Tai petrified and cracked up. He's clearly not happy that the main character isn't him. This is the alter ego. They call him Limitless. The system couldn't allow an ordinary head with a mediocre face to become a hero. The system's words depressed the grief-stricken Necromancer. Simply put, to the system, the appearance of the head is not that appealing. She asks Tai to appear in the guise of a hero. It was a crushing blow to his self-esteem. A resident approached the head with a question about his daughter. She called him, but never returned. Tai said the little girl has become an important mission for the newcomers. "Hey, is anyone there? Save me!" The girl is terrified. The head called her to play, but tricked her and threw her into a tree surrounding her with wild beasts. The father tries to reassure himself, but he doesn't really believe the head's words. "The idiot assures me the baby is safe." Land. Huang Quan's room 4. The beta test has been launched. It's about to start. Masturbator appreciated the pre-release, but it's the game that he wants to appreciate. Welcome to the game. Someone opens their eyes. The man sees that he has entered the village of Xinshu. He is pleasantly surprised at his chest. Player, Heavenly Huang Quan, level 1. He feels everything for real. While the masturbator is enjoying the body he received, he was approached by another player. The thug clearly gave Huang Quan a fright. Player, Vanguard Shield. A tall, muscular man introduced himself as a knight of the Vanguard. The base masturbator introduced himself by his first name. The knight is petrified. Juan is called out by the prince as arrogant from the forum. Player Prince. 2 more players introduced themselves, Antimagus and Soda. The prince recognized Antimagus as the one who was breaking records for comments on the forums. Juan didn't know that. Antimagus also has many nicknames. The game has notified that 50 players are in training camp, but Huang doesn't understand why he only sees 4. Shield Vanguard chuckled awkwardly and said, blocking the view a bit. Behind Shield's back was a crowd of players with different appearances from each other. Beginner's Quest. Rescue Little King Ning. The little girl went for a walk in the forest and didn't return. The warriors need to find and return the little girl to her father's house. Vanguard Shield and Huang Quan noticed footprints on the ground. They decided to follow them. A squad of warriors rushed to the little girl's aid, but some are put off by the task and want to explore the world around them. A warning pops up for slackers. You must first complete the task. The slackers went to the village. Tai is not thrilled with the actions of these players. The Necromancer and the system are watching them. Tai honestly doesn't understand why the hell they're in the village. If people did what they were told to do, there would be no wars in the world. Tai will not leave the slackers alone. An earthquake started under the feet of the simpletons. From underground, the creature made its way to the surface, which scared the hell out of the players. Seeing the little stuck foot, the slumberers relaxed, but not so much. It was the same disgusting rat that Tai had molded. That thing grabbed one of them and bit his head off. It was too late to run. They were surrounded by these rats. Above the heads of the squad that rushed to fulfill the first task, a sign popped up. There are 44 players left in the beta. The prince was struck with fear. Juan left everyone in front of something, and in the meantime, the disgusting rats were running at them. They probably ran into the enemy. With a rat that was hiding in the bushes, one of the squad immediately thought to their deaths. Out of nowhere came a blonde, who took out a huge curso with one punch. The players are dumbfounded. The girl saved a lot of players. The thug suggested that they had strength over time. In reality, he wouldn't have broken the boulder. After his speech, they ran to the attack. Tai, watching this, is amused. The Necromancer is pleased with the teamwork, and the players themselves have noticed that traces of the little girl are gone. The girl's quiet voice is heard. The players looked up and were shocked at the height the girl was above. A girl with a book in her hand sobs and screams, "Wah, take me down from here soon. Village headman, you are a scoundrel and an old cheat." Gromil is in a stupor. Thinks the little girl's a mountain climber. While they were standing there thinking, other players came in. Among them were the monk Asura and the wench Lilith, who slew the rat. With light and quick movements, the monk approached the tree. A run-up, a push, a jump, and he hooked his arm into a tree. As the bald guy crawls up, Tai, watching, marvels at the player's abilities. The Necromancer thinks it's all the abilities of the Shaolin monks, as he suddenly notices the other players spending time talking. This sweet little girl is in trouble, and they don't care about her. Sometimes people are too indifferent. The monk reached the branch where Qing Ning was. He reached out a helping hand. The little girl trusted him and took his hand. With one hand, the monk held onto the tree, and with the other, he held the little girl. Asura took the girl tighter and let go of the tree. They flew swiftly downward, the monk leaping from branch to branch. The bully noticed that the bald guy's strength was considerably reduced. They want to help him. Asura takes a breath on a branch. He noticed that his strength was running out, but the branch treacherously failed to support the weight of the monk and the little girl. He managed to get a dead grip on the tree. The players downstairs are very frightened by the situation. They are looking for a way to help a bald guy with a baby girl in his arms. The girl panics, and Asura realizes he's in a shitty situation, and they're about to snap. Qingning, don't be afraid, I won't let you get hurt. Monk hugged the girl and began to fall backwards down her back. The players were worried about the girl. The Vanguard shield rushed to the rescue. He got there in time and saved both of them. Tai relaxed, for if the bulky man hadn't come up, he would have had to intervene. Monk and the little girl were not hurt. The players offered to take the girl back home. The cry of the dreaded birds. No one understands what's wrong, but the little girl screams that more have been found, and they're coming for her now because she has the Mountain King's treasure. Everyone is puzzled, but stomping is heard. The ground shakes. The wild beasts roar after the girl. The players are pretty scared. All right, let's spice up the game. These birds are very numerous. The winged tiger was not left out. Players did not expect to see a tiger, and even with wings, a bird flies straight at them, making screeching noises. Lilith helps Qingning climb onto her back. Lilith, what are you looking at? Let's get out of here! Huang Quan noticed the tiger keeping pace and jumped on him. The masturbator manages to dodge. He notices tree branches with vines. He's determined. A push, a leap, and he grabs the vines. Quan tries to escape from the tiger into a tree. He noticed how high he jumped on the branch. He can't believe himself. A bird appears behind Suan, which he kicks easily away from him. He has to run away. He revels in his abilities. The bird that had been chasing Juan found a new target, Soda. He's clearly not happy about being the new victim. Birdie almost grabbed Soda by the hood, but Thunderbird warned of the danger. Fuck! Vanguard's shield defeated the bird and saved the player. As the beasts rush after the crowd, Tai, watching, remembers the indifferent players. They ran, but the ground began to shake again. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Shield and Asura wanted to save them, but indifferent players dropped out of the game. That left 41 players. The little girl yells that you can't go into the village while the animals are on their tails. Anti-Magus reminded him that this was a game and that the mission would be over. Shield confirmed, but said that the village still needed to be protected. They came to the gate of the village and sent the little girl home. All the players stood up to defend the goal. Tai was touched by the scene, and the exit of the alter ego of the infinite has come. The players stood on defense. The sky was covered with clouds, and they were thickening, forming a funnel. Lightning struck the ground between the players and the animals, and there he was. That's the pre-release guy. Limitless stood facing the wild beasts. With a single wave of his hand, he uses magic. A sword of blue energy appeared in the sky and directed light force into the ground. The bright light blinded everyone. The destructive force was directed at the animals. Boundless made a barrier with a snap of his fingers. A solar bastion will protect the village. The alter ego did it to protect the residents. If the players dared to break the law, he would have no mercy on them. Lilitha had a question for Limitless. Do you have a girlfriend? The alter ego is surrounded by energy. Tai appeared in the chapter room and fell to his knees. He would like to date this beautiful girl. While he was beating in convulsions of sadness, little Qingning ran in and called that one a rascal. He was conscience-stricken, for he had left the girl in a tall tree. He scared her to death. Tai tries to reassure her because the players shouldn't find out anything. The little girl reminds him that he scared her a lot and hurt her. From under his coat, he took out Qingning's teddy bear and apologized. The bandits ruined the teddy bear, but the tailor fixed it. Tai asks for help with his assignment. The little girl smiles again. Players stand in front of Shinshu's goal. Hey, are you the outsiders that saved Qingning? I've already been told everything. Huang Quan asks who he is. Tai introduced himself as the head of the village, but the players suspected something amiss, as he was very young. He had to say that the head of the village was his father. The behavior of the players infuriated him, but he got back to the point. Players are allowed to work and live in the village, but Tai wants to teach the players some spells. The spell is called Intelligence Magic. Congratulations to players for completing the mission. From this day forward, player death, maiming, or being kicked off the server will not affect your status in the beta test. Warning: if you are eliminated by Unlimited, you will lose the opportunity to participate in the beta test. Players are prohibited from committing acts contrary to the moral law. Intelligence magic applies to everything. It allows you to find out information. The level will gradually increase and soon high-level magic and techniques will be available. The more skills used, the higher the mastery. Contact the head of the village with any questions or problems. Welcome to Sinshu Village. Huang Quan is testing the magic. Heavenly Huang Quan. Strength like ordinary people, slower than the old telephone internet, physical strength, won't be able to make much money as a cabbie. Wisdom, 9 years of study was not wasted. Spirit, it is recommended to watch fewer movies and do arm exercises. Charm, attractive and friendly, but can be a target for fans. Huang Quan, some passive-aggressive intelligence. Tai introduced himself as the headman who has medical skills. In case of injury, he was to be the one to call for help. The village has a martial arts hall, a tavern, an inn, a blacksmith store, and a clothing store. You can rest in the house of a familiar peasant or a hotel. Resting on the street will cause unnecessary criticism. The masturbator asked what they could do in the village. Tai talks about work. The blacksmith alpha is short of apprentices, the butcher puja of assistants. The hunter needs capable helpers, and the father and daughter lack servants. There are many places with jobs, but if you become adventurous, you can go to the martial arts hall to curate shijie. You can earn money by killing rats. Meat and hide may be needed by the butcher pudge. Tai doesn't advise players to leave the village. He can heal, but he can't put a torn body back together piece by piece. Prince asked where their items were and how to use the inventory feature. Tai said there is no inventory function and it's up to them. He had forgotten that such a function existed. The players are outraged. Anti-Manga suggests getting a job and leaving the game from the hotel. Huan Quan rambles on, saying that the game is no different from reality. The players have questions. Tai asked everyone to come up one at a time. A barrage of questions rained down on him. He can't answer everything at once. Vanguard Shield asked Qing Ning to take him to Butcher Pudge. Butcher reminded him that father was looking for Qing Ning. While Shield is talking to the butcher, the girl's father comes running in. Daddy was very worried about his baby girl. Tai heard a familiar voice call out to him. The idiot Necromancer saw his father behind him with a butcher's knife. He was burning with rage. The fool hopes for a peaceful conversation, even though he knows he's finished. The father doesn't seem peaceful and safe, so Tai is very leery of the players. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman has important things to discuss with me, so let's call it a day. The head used a forced shutdown. Tai is determined to deal with Qing Ning's father. The crybaby fell to the ground and began to beg for forgiveness. The father is shocked by the head's behavior. Tai began to justify himself to Leju. The daughter was needed to develop the village. He brought in the labor force. Since Qing Ning was fine, he felt sorry for this idiot. Tai promised to be reasonable and Leju believed it. The gray-haired guy was tired. He jumped into the embrace of Chow Sai's pillow. Tai missed her and said it had been a rough day. Does it seem, or did I promise to do something to someone? He decided not to make life difficult for himself and sat down to read Earth comics. Earth, Silicon Valley's 6th West District. In the office, people in strict suits are discussing the purpose of the meeting. Nesser. People clarify that holographic virtual play is currently impossible. The staff realizes that this game is beyond reality as current technology doesn't reach that level. The difference between VR and holographic virtualization is like the difference between heaven and earth. Holographic virtualization brings the mind directly into the virtual world. The guy with the blue tie suggests the immortality of human consciousness, but another reminds us that a VR helmet is required to enter the game. The blue-haired guy has asked the staff to track down Nesser employees and those 50 players, but so far nothing is known. Boss, I figured it out! The boss said the guy with the bald spot deserved the best and would give out a bonus if he reported the results of the study. This simpleton suggested an easy way to make money and get Nesser's association with their company through advertising and a pay-to-enter game. The boss is upset, but he has another solution. Eliminate Nesser. In the headman's bedroom, the system has broken in. Tai asks for personal space, to which the system clarifies that his best space is reading lusty comic books. The pervert asks the purpose of his future actions. Tai is needed to help with the system, to put the greedy people who want to monopolize the market in their place. 6 West County morning 3 o'clock. The release of Nesser has raised everyone's ears. Some agree to cooperate with Nesser. Others are in favor of restricting the work. Top companies from all over the world started gathering conferences, trying every way possible to reach out to Nesser to get their hands on the unique VR technology. Tai asks for a plan of action. The system would not want Nesser to be promoted at the expense of companies. Loyal players might suffer as well. The system allows Tai to show his full power and act at his discretion. 6th Western District, Office of the President. The evidence suggests that Nesser's technology is approximately 20 years ahead of Western District 6's technology. Useless nonsense, maybe it's an alien thing. The president's cell phone is ringing. Intelligence reports that they are investigating 3 players participating in the beta test. The results showed that the participants were asleep during the game, but that doesn't do anything for the president. The old man is told that theoretically, hackers could use this technology to gain control over people. It was Tai who spoke to the presidency on the phone. The alter ego introduced himself as someone who would not allow harm to come to the players. The president, of course, chooses to cooperate with Nesser. The old man hopes his interlocutor will reciprocate, but Tai replies that they don't care about their proposal. Because of the refusal, the Prez promised limited opportunities on their turf and ended the call. Limitless appeared in the face of the president. When asked by the Prez who he was, Tai introduced himself as a Nesser administrator with the name Unlimited. The alter ego doesn't want to kill the president, but he puts his hand on the old man's shoulder. They vaporized. Did you like it, President? Tai is asking not to be prevented. He does not want to allow a ban at the state level. Limitless asks not to be detained and threatens to throw him into the void. It's not just the president who decides this issue, to which Tai asks for everyone's photo and address. Wants to stop by for tea, Sinshu Village. The gray-haired guy came back in the morning. He jumped on his pillow again, but the idiot had the system waiting for him. Nitik is yelling about personal space again, but the girl is interested in how he was able to agree with everyone so easily. Nothing special, just moving them into the void. A zone where time stops. The system's data said it, but people can go crazy. Tai said that with the conditions met, they could go from there. He was inspired by ideas from the internet. If people can write 1 billion words of text or draw 300 pages of a comic book, they can get out. If the content isn't of the same quality, you'll have to remake it. If they do manage to get out, they become more submissive. A bunch of presidents are already meeting to ban any influence on Nesser's activities. The system is surprised at what Tai did, but she's happy that players will be able to play without interruptions. Huang Quan walked into the game. The first thing he wants to do is find a job, but he's not feeling well. Condition: low back pain, dexterity. 1. Slow movement effect, duration 60 minutes. Light hunger, energy. 1. Dexterity. 1. Strength. 1. Duration 300 minutes. If the effect is ignored, hunger is applied. What? Negative characteristics can be imposed on players. Juan noticed that Vanguard Shield is fun. Shield told him that he had been helping Pudge but had flown out. The butcher laid him on a comfortable bed and fed him. Shield said that the tavern was a place to remove negative effects. Juan walked into the tavern. The tavern keeper greets. 300 gold pieces a day. Juan asks for a loan. No money? No money, get out. You're going to hang around here for free? Don't waste my time. The landlady was bribed by his sincerity and gave him the math book. Juan got a 3 in math. Maximum grade is 5. Quan looked at the book, but he didn't know the local language, which made the landlady angry. The hostess was furious that the foreigner Huang was meddling with his own way of recording. This poor guy in a girl's body really wants to study at the tavern. She offered to help him learn local literacy, and in return he would work for free for a couple of days and further on his paycheck. Juan is thinking of bad things. This is how Huang Quan went from being a constantly exploited high school student to an exploited apprentice, and he also has to learn a foreign language. Huang Quan acquired a new skill, Palia language. He successfully became an apprentice. Progress 1/3. He is happy about it with tears in his eyes. A player burst into the chapter room. Tai returned to a serious look. The player praised the already narcissistic head. The headman breathed a sigh of relief. The player's name is Kim, and he came with an offer, but he needs help. Kim reminds us that there are many dangerous rats outside the village. He suggested building a watchtower near the village. This will take a lot of resources, but the resident can close the money issue. Kim also wants to build her own home. Tai was a little surprised and decided to clarify the question. The head disappeared into the middle of the room, much to the player's shock. He teleported to the system. Tai's doing a little background on Kim. This player has unlimited access to the District 6 budget. If he wants to build something here for real money, they're going to allocate money to him, right? The system thinks so, but it's wondering what he's going to do with Earth money. Tai asks for a laptop, an Apple smartphone, a VR helmet, and a bunch of games. The system hopes it's for skill enhancement. She agrees, only on the condition of a 999, one split of donation profits. Tai thought 999 inches was his profit and offered the system half. Turns out, 1 inch was the idiot's share. Crybaby went back to his room. He gave me the go-ahead to build. Buy the lot, do whatever you want. Kim is interested in the price of a piece of land. 500,000,000 yuan. What? Tai said to contact the site support for the purchase, which caused Kim to have a strange feeling. Kim started to ask the chapter if the head happened to be an employee of Nesser's. The head has a lot on his plate, so he kicked the player out of the house. Tai is counting money from the land of easy freebies. He's already imagining mowing money and has informed the system that he's done it all. The Nesser account received 100,000,000 yuan. Tai thinks it's a lot for Earthlings, but the system said it's just nothing for District 6. The chapter reflects on what Kim wants to build. The system believes the intimidated want to take them over. Tai wondered what she would do with the money, but Tai said all the money would be prize money. Tai is upset. At this moment, in the tavern, Huang Quan is asleep and muttering about Dad's firm. Soda bursts in on him screaming, and the others follow. Only Huan asks to be quieter. Soda is an idiot, and Huang Quan put in earplugs. Everyone was left stunned by the tavern owner's shout. Huan wondered why the players had come. They came to see the progression of skills. Commerce, Level 1, Financial Management. Level 2, Tourism. Level 1, Pali Language 1/6. Gromila doesn't understand what this has to do with military craft. The players scoffed that Juan learned the local language from the game. In fact, they came to call her to hunt. Soda reminded me that you can gain more experience on monsters. Juan is very offended and thinks he's come to be mocked for his lack of offensive skills. Juan pretends not to care but peeks out. The players wanted to show him the guns, which Juan is thrilled about. Antimagus is a blacksmith's apprentice. Soda is a woodcutter. They succeeded in creating a weapon. The artisans gave Quan a crossbow. They once again invited Huang Quan to go hunting. He really wants to, but he's looking at books. He apologizes and says he's busy. Suddenly, the tavern hostess appears and allows you to go out hunting. Without progress, there's less money. Quan thought the boss was cruel, but in reality, she is prudent. But only for today. Juan hasn't worked off his debt and has to show up on time. The hostess looked at them. Heh, Balda! The players were attracted by the ground space. The prince talked about the purchase of the land and its price of 5 million. Juan thinks the construction companies are involved. There are rumors of Kim wanting to build a watchtower. It took Prince 2 days to master the skill of shooting. She has the eagle eye skill, which increases her range of vision. Shield asks to be careful, while Prince prepares to shoot in the meantime. An arrow pierced the rat's belly. Bullseye! The killing of the rat had angered its kin. Everyone prepared for battle. Tai is broadcasting live. He does the unpacking of orders. Tai sees the strange comments about the maid. There was a system sitting on the bed. There's an assignment for Tai. Sinsho Village quest list. Tai doesn't understand the point of the quests. The system has in mind the opportunity to make earthly money. The money from the land sale, at someone else's expense. Quest 1, solo, enemies are weak. It's a cursed basement where a lot of lonely weirdos live. Every day they read the manhwa and watch streamers. In their old age, they deliberately come to the cellar to die in peace. After death, their lonely and unsupported minds begin to summon mysterious oriental forces that turn them into horrible ghouls. Kill him! The system pretends everything's fine. The whole description is about him. Earth School Number Senin, women's dormitory. A red-haired girl wakes up another girl named Ju. She asks if she remembers the day. Ju remembers building the watchtower in the game, but she has an exam today. Tower! Exam? Toe! Exam! What exam? Nesser player, Van Zoos. The examining teachers, the exam time is 120 minutes. The examiner was called out by Ju. The teacher is holding back anger over Ju's question. What subject? Ju writes a challenging exam on principles of communication. It's, what language is that in? Ju is trying to calm down. She's trying to find easy assignments. Humbled, but she noticed something. She sees what the neighbor in front of her is writing. She doesn't understand how to use the eagle eye or where it is, but decides to write it off as soon as possible. The teacher noticed how fast Ju was writing. The examiner sees nothing suspicious. She's a genius? Office of the President. A subordinate of the President reports that there is a feedback mechanism. A native speaker of the Paelia language has been identified. Consequently, what is learned in the game transfers to real life with the player. While the subordinate burns with the desire to acquire Nesser's high tech, the President bitterly remembers the alter ego. The President tries to remember the conditions that Limitless set, but he can't. The old man left the questions for another time. Nesser, what the fuck are you up to? Ju enters the game. Player Wang Ye, welcome to Nesser. Ji-Wei was really waiting for the moment to enter the game. She went to look for the others. A crowd of players led by Kim. The tower is about to be built. Ju asks Shield if he noticed anything strange while he was out of the game. She thinks that abilities can only manifest in reality for her. Kim gives the keynote speech on the need for a watchtower. All are in favor of cooperation and cooperative. Ty's here. They're getting there. Necromancer Ty graciously showed up to wish the players good luck with the build. The crowd of people is shocked by the behavior of the village head. Players have a new task: to build a watchtower object. Description: in this zone, it is not safe for you to have a stronghold. Let's work together to build this object. Kim kept the guys' morale up and reported that everyone was coming out of the safe zone. All players go to the edge of the zone that Alter Ego has set up. They are crossing the zone step by step. Soda has agreed to go with everyone else, but he doubts the rightness of his decision. The guy is terrified of a second encounter with wild animals. Vanguard Shield noticed that Soda was trembling all over from the impending horror he had conjured up for himself. The thug exhaled with a slight smirk, looking at the shaking guy. The necessary materials were on the site for the watchtower. Actively rolling up the sleeves of her clothing, Kim calls for business. Vanguard Shield made a good suggestion. Split into two groups, one building and the other patrolling the area. Prince notes that this separation will affect speed. She believes that the village is close, so there is no danger. Kim picks up on Shield's thought. He reminds the girl that they are already in an unsafe area. If someone attacks, not only the players will be hurt, but also the tower itself. Pansy Gazirka actively agrees with Vanguard's idea because it's safe to do so. The long-haired guy is very grateful to the Grumala for making such a suggestion. The Shield is happy to have the support of the people, so everyone splits into groups. Tirelessly, everyone works hard for the safety of the village and subsequent forays outside the safe zone. A tense Juan doubts that anyone could attack them, as the environment is safe at the moment. Kim demands maximum vigilance and reminds them how they got their asses kicked on the first sortie. Indeed, the guys remembered that moment and doubted their own words. Kim was actually right. The village head, watching the players at work, is pleased to see that they are enthusiastic about the idea of building a watchtower. Ty is actively drinking the drink from the box. It turned out to be Earth Kefir. The Necromancer liked it very much, for he had never tasted such drinks before. His attention was diverted by something. The enthusiasm on his face changed to thoughtfulness. As one could guess, Ty was up to something again. Sinshu Village, 3 a.m. The players have spent almost a whole day building the watchtower. Many are very exhausted, some need to go to school in the morning, and others are just bored already. The group standing guard is outraged that the tower is almost complete and the monster spirit is nowhere near. Kim is just as exhausted from the construction, but still reminds his comrades that the game is set up in such a way that the most dastardly things happen towards the very end. He also asks them not to let their guard down. The village head, still watching the construction of the tower, drinks a drink and moves closer to the players' construction out of interest. Here it is, a wonderfully executed idea of the players, a watchtower. In the harsh conditions of an unsafe land, the building offers a huge number of advantages. The players look at their creation with pride. Kim, who had started to give a rousing speech and congratulate the players, calling them good men, abruptly stopped talking. Someone placed a hand on the shoulder of a player who was giving a speech. This person evaluated the construction and the work of the players, saying not bad. This person turned out to be the village headman, who came to congratulate the players on a successfully completed task. Ty, with a good mood and a smile on his face, wanted to say something to Kim. Suddenly, the player grabbed the Necromancer's arm with both hands. Kim, in an anxious and tired state, thinks that if the leader himself has come, then the enemies will arrive at the last moment to destroy the newly built tower. With this abrupt statement and action, the player frightened Ty. The village chief doesn't understand who Kim is talking about. The player continues his speech. Monsters, rats, winged tigers, gray wolves, and so on. Obviously, if we're building here, they have to come. The head doesn't understand how such a thought could have occurred to him. Kim frantically talks about how it's the law of the genre, and reminds him that the mission description said the area was full of dangers. The player genuinely doesn't believe that no one was ever supposed to be there. Ty reports with a slight smile and serenity on his face that no one was ever supposed to come. The short-haired guy is shocked by what he said, as he was waiting until the last minute for the monsters to attack while building the tower. The Necromancer says with disdain in his face, "Do you have anxiety syndrome from watching movies a lot?" I said there's a lot of danger, but that doesn't mean someone's necessarily going to attack you. Mentally, Ty talks about how Nesser doesn't adjust to genres. Kim, clearly disturbed by what he had done, turned around fearfully. He was staring at a crowd of angry players who were having a boring time. If they hadn't been divided into groups, the construction of the watchtower would have been completed much faster. Pouring sweat, the player wants to explain himself to the others. The girls, led by Huang Quan, who was kneading his fists, flaming with anger, gradually overtook the unfortunate fellow. He wanted to be listened to, but the last thing that was heard from him was his piercing scream. Tortured and beaten to the point of semi-consciousness, Kim lay raggedly on the ground. While Juan is pleased with the work he has done, Tai is in shock at the picture he has seen. The headman, coughing slightly to get the attention of the players, decided to say something. Glancing toward the kids, Tai says that there is a mysterious event coming up tonight. With disdain in his face, Juan thinks that this event is related to the donation. The expression on the face of the guy in the girl's body makes the head of the village uncomfortable. With a cheerful smile on his face, Tai says the event is not about donations. The gray-haired guy wants to tell the truth about the village. With the words of the headman, the players pounced at him with unknowing interest. Prince reminds us that this is still a game, and in any game, players gradually explore the world and then learn the truth about it. With a proud smirk on his face, Juan thinks of famous games that had scandals, intrigue, and investigations. Soda, with tears in his eyes, is happy that the game started to feel like a game. It began to feel like an NPS. Raising his index finger up, the village head says that Xinsho village is unusual. The players began to listen attentively to the headman and absorbed every word he said. Tai began the story that many years ago there were people living in the village. As the sun rose, they went to work, and as soon as it got dark outside, they went to bed. They lived a full life. The chapter has fallen silent, but the players are interested to hear the continuation of the story that was started. With a nonchalant face, Tai continues, and then they died of old age. Such an ending killed the players. The players are angry that one story is better than the other. The chapter just started to build up intrigue and immediately brought everything down. The gray-haired guy reassured the guys that it was even an unfinished story. They simply interrupted him. All the wealth of the people who lived and died on this earth was buried in their graves with them. A lot of time has passed since then. No one would have thought of it. The buried people turned into bloodthirsty ghouls. What the buried ones turned into made the players tense up. According to the head, the appearance of ghouls in the village causes a bunch of problems. He hopes that the player will find time to go to the tomb and destroy the uninvited guests. Tai spoke of the riches inside the tomb. The riches found can be taken by the players. They were very interested in this. Juan became interested in the coins from the tomb. With hilarity and enthusiasm, the players demanded the chapter take them to the tomb. Tai let a tear fall from happiness, called the kids goodies, and thanked them. The headman hopes to see the players reach the reward chest. More than that, though, he wants to see them turned into flatulence. Shinshu Cemetery. The players headed to the tomb, for the most part, for treasure. As they approached one of the graves in this gloomy place, they stopped. Shield Vanguard walked over to the tombstone and grabbed onto it with both hands. The others watched from behind. Putting a lot of effort into it, he tries to move the slab out of the way. The shield topples the concrete slab, which falls to the ground with a clatter. A staircase appeared in front of them, leading to the inside of the tomb itself. They are amazed at the scale of this tomb, comparing it to an entire crypt. Players are stunned by a quest that has appeared. A single-player quest, Bachelor Goal. There are a lot of guys in the village who don't have girlfriends, and all they do all day long is watch anime and read manhua. Before they die, they gather in their basements and wait for their last breath. A shocked Soda thinks it's a ridiculous quest that has stirred up drama for nothing. A stunned Juan says it's as if he's the one who wrote the description. They could have written his passport number, and it would have been absolutely true. From the crowd, a green-haired guy with a bandage on his forehead was the first to volunteer. As he descended into the tomb, he heard good luck wishes from the others. After only 5 minutes, the game reports that a character has been killed. This disappointed other players. A gray-haired man with a mustache began shouting from the crowd. He had an axe in his hands, and he called the children minnows. Calling himself Batya, he said he would show them how to pass. Accompanied by silent stares, the grandfather began to descend into the tomb. In absolute silence, players waited for any action or notifications from the game. The grandfather, bleeding from the head, accompanied by his own screams, flew out of the tomb with a whoosh. He survived but landed headfirst on the ground. The other players are very frightened by this. A puzzled Vanguard Shield asks how his grandfather feels and what kind of boss inhabits this tomb. Lying on the ground with bumps on his worthless gray head, the man replies that he was punished by his first enemy. The players are dumbfounded by these words. Quan is starting to think that this quest is of high difficulty. But, sitting on the ground, The grandfather refutes Huang's words. The difficulty lies in the darkness, which makes it impossible to see the Ghouls. The shield is really pissed off by this situation, and there's nothing left for him to do. He decides to try to fight a proud battle with the Ghoulies, who have already struck 2 players. A monk placed a hand on Shield's shoulder and stopped him. The bald guy says, "If I can't do it, who can? Let the monk try." To this guy's statement, Shield irritably replies that he'll go. He is stopped again, but this time by Lilith, who asks Asiulo to go first. The prince is surprised at the blonde girl's words. Proudly and without turning around, the monk descends into the tomb. Lilith thinks this quest is very appropriate for the monk class. Asiulo gropes the stone walls. With each step, the passage to the tomb grows narrower. A pungent, cadaverous odor hit his nose. The bald guy is surprised to see that the steps ended rather quickly, and he found himself in a large room. As the ghouls sneak up on him from behind, he confirms his thoughts that it's pitch black here. While thinking about how to find the ghouls, a monster hand approaches the monk's head. Players began to worry that Asiulo was long gone, and there was no news on his passing. One Lilith doesn't care about the experience, as she is confident in the monk. The prince is very puzzled by the long-haired girl's behavior because the girl is behaving quite calmly. At the dark-haired girl's words, she replies that she believes in his success in completing the quest. Shield is also puzzled by her behavior, since the player had said before that it was pitch black and very dangerous. That's why Lilith told him to go. She knows the quest will be easy for Asiulo. Monk is a little worried about the poor visibility. In that case, he began to take action and utilize technology. Standing in one place, the bald guy concentrated as much as possible. The monsters are already eagerly hungry for his flesh. Through concentration, his auditory senses have intensified, and he hears someone sneaking around. He senses the enemy approaching from the back. A ghoul with an open mouth jumps on him, ready to tear the player to pieces. Due to his technique, the monk jumps aside, causing the monster to miss. The bald guy landed the other way. He was surrounded by 2 humanoid dogs, drooling with rage. The second ghoul rushed towards the player. A monk with his eyes closed, maximally concentrated, awaits the attack. Opening its maw, the humanoid dog leaped towards Asiulo, wanting to tear him apart. Applying the technique, the bald guy gathers maximum strength into his right fist, preparing to deliver a crushing blow to the ghoul. With a blast, the guy pushes the monster back a few meters, realizing that the force has destroyed his life. Squatting down, Asiulo says, "Rest in peace." Still in maximum concentration, the monk is in a tense state of bewilderment. A bunch of paws that approach the player, all of them, bewitched, hungry for blood and meat. Asiulo realizes that it's not just 1 or 2 ghoulas approaching, but a whole crowd. Raising his hands in fear, he wonders where so many of them came from. He steps back, telling those to relax, since he's a bachelor too. Opening his eyes and assuming a posture to fend off and launch attacks, Asiulo proudly, solemnly, and wholly tells them, "Unlike you, however, I am an alpha." Outside the tomb, the players are waiting for the monk and don't know where he's gone. Suddenly, an earthquake started. The tomb explodes, bursting with stone shards. Vanguard, Shield, and Prince can't believe their eyes. Holding a bag of coins in his hands, Asiulo proudly appeared on the ground from the explosion. Monk Asiulo has successfully completed the quest. This quest will be available again in 48 hours at the earliest. The buddies are alarmed by the condition of the bald guy who just came out of the tomb. He's fine, although very exhausted as he expended a lot of energy on it. Quan asks about the player's experience. How many mobs were there, how strong they were, and what he got as a reward. With a calm smile on his face, the monk replies, "Will do. The 4 ghouls in the crypt and the 2 in the corridor can be killed separately. The main thing is to take your time. And in the last room, mobs attack simultaneously as a group. But be careful, the corridors are narrow and dodge attacks quite difficult. Those who have armor, it will be easier." After completing the quest, he was given a treasure chest with a sack inside. The prince was the first to want to know what was inside the bag and looked inside. After what she saw, she was utterly perplexed. There was clearly something in there that should not be a reward for completing the tomb quest. She silently stepped aside while the others went to look at the inside. Vanguard, Shield, and Swan are surprised at what is in the bag. Bachelor's Kefir Yogurt. Effect: Learning ability +5, duration 30 minutes. You must drink 50 milliliters to activate it. This is the kefir yogurt that bachelors have kept for many years. It has been with them while working and studying, and even while watching Manhua. The yogurt has a great flavor and is very healthy. Shocked punters think a nutter came up with this, and if you drink it straight away, there's a chance you'll die instantly. There is a piece of paper next to the kefir box. Shield Vanguard pulled out a sheet that was in the bag. Thanks to a tap, The information popped up. This is a special item. 100 credit tickets of the 6 West Zone. The exchange rate of one ticket is 1 yuan. The player needs to write the bank card account number on the back of the ticket. Within 48 hours, the amount will be converted to the currency of the 6th district and will be credited to the account. The company Nesser Limited is responsible for the fulfillment of the credit obligation, as well as the absolute confidentiality of data. The company provides currency exchange service according to the real-time exchange rate. These guys didn't have girlfriends, so they had nowhere to spend it. Over the years, a lot of money has accumulated here. This currency can be exchanged for real money. Shinsho, the room of the village head. Tai, who was studying the contents of the books, was distracted by the glow of the orb. News has started to appear on the internet that you can make real money at Nesser. These comments bombarded the internet. With a smirk on his face, the head thinks about how this was a cool idea. The further players progress, the bigger the events will be. Shinsho, the chapter house. It's late at night outside. Snotty sobs, staring passionately ahead. He's playing on the computer where the melodrama unfolds. Tai sobs in return, saying he's moved by the game's storyline. Snotlout feels the piercing gaze of the system in the back of his head. He recognizes the feeling perfectly. His sobbing turned to paranoid tension. The magnificent system shines in all its glory. She asks the chapter if it did what she asked. Relieved, the Necromancer exhaled, already ready for anything since he had gotten used to the girl showing up like this all along. He placed the gamepad on his bed. In silence and stillness, the Necromancer rises from his bed. The idiot fell on his knees in front of the system's feet, apologizing for the transgression because the games and manhwa had him so engrossed that he forgot about his duties. The girl is not surprised by this. That's why she checks on the idiot. The irritated system says to him, "You kneeled so professionally. It seems you often have to apologize for your misdeeds." Tai becomes addicted to games, which the girl congratulates him on. Then the gray-haired girl decided to ask if he remembered what exactly she had asked him to do. At this point, the head of the village ceased to be listed as alive. Grabbing the idiot nerd by the shoulders, she demands to tell him the request if he actually remembers it. The Necromancer suddenly and frantically starts digging through the mountain of documents, pretending to look for something specific. He certainly couldn't have forgotten such an important thing. The system is annoyed that Tai lost the document describing classes and professions in Nesser. With the book on its worthless head, the chapter suggests there's still time, as players are still low levels. The system reminded him that Wang Ye, Monka Sulo, and 5 other players had reached level 9 in the past day. The first rank of the player, Vanguard Shield, he has about 138 hours to level 10. Tai is shocked by the numbers, and he thinks the players of their game are missing a life. It's only been a couple of days and they've already reached such levels. At the moment, players can choose a swordsman, archer, mage, brigand, and berserk class, but there are no class descriptions or descriptions of their features in the system. The system reminds you that 22 days, 10 hours, 23 minutes, and 45 seconds have passed since the beta test was launched. There is no time to delay. The dumb idiot has it all figured out, but before he gets to work, he asks permission to play around a bit more, to look for inspiration there. The system removes the strap with the words, "Haven't you been punished in a long time or something?" After the girl's words and action, the Gore Necromancer was inspired and eager to get to work right now. Irritated by her subordinate's behavior, the gray-haired girl lifts the strap back up, asking the suddenly inspired village head for ideas. He began whispering in Sistema's ear to voice his thought. The gray-haired girl is fine with what the Necromancer said. Shinsho, late at night. The players gathered in the watchtower. They noticed a change. Players after level 5 get 50% less experience for killing rats. The guys read the news about the innovations. With each next level, the percentage of experience gained drops even more. Starting at level 8, experience for killing rats is not given at all. Vanguard Shield, oriented on the map, suggests looking for new places to pump. For example, the forest is a zone for high-level characters. Lilith notes that the rats don't give much experience, but they are quite plentiful. Everyone listens to her intently. The long-haired girl also says that the armor sets of the characters are entry-level. They can be seriously injured. The monk had a wise idea and asked to listen to him carefully. Shield and Asiulo have the highest levels of all of them. Also, their base defense is higher than the others, so they will be in the vanguard. Tsuan and Wang Ye are ranged characters, so they will be placed in the rear. Antimagus and Soda will be in charge of protecting the archers. Lilith's character has more agility than the others. She's fast. She will provide support on a situation-by-situation basis, and if anything, helped one or the other sub. All players agree with the idea of the monk. They decided to build on this strategy for pumping. The grim yet majestic principality of Glamorgan. A red-haired maiden sits on a throne with a girl in a bandana next to her. Grizzly mercenaries. Deputy Leader Goosley. She worries at the leader about what happened. Leader Steve doesn't know what she's asking. The girl places the scroll in front of the red-haired girl, saying that it is an order to destroy a village on Hangduan Ridge. If successful, each head of the slain character will be paid as 3 gold coins to Palia. The surprised Goosley had not previously known that there was a village on the Hangduan Ridge. The leader indifferently replies that there is a trade route running beside it, connecting west and east. Compared to capturing this trade route, the reward for destroying the village is a waste of time. Steve refuses to take the order, leaving the matter to the smaller squads. The leader also adds, although it's more likely that they are not mercenaries, but just mountain brigands who just want to kill and plunder, they'll definitely not miss an opportunity. We'll just sit here and see if we need to join the party. Steve wonder who would want to destroy this godforsaken village. A couple hours later, the players use the monk strategy, as evident by a whole bunch of killed rats. Soda, clearly happy that the plan is working, clues in that Asiulo is right. After checking the strategy in action, Vanguard's shield confirmed that according to the plan, they would move deep into the forest. As the boys walked on, live vines loomed up behind them. These natural ropes are not friendly and rush towards players at full speed. The girls were attracted to some sound from the back and decided to turn around. The earthy green stuff has come close and is ready to attack its victims. Wang Ye was covered by the shadow of a merciless monster. A shout from the girls caused the other players to turn around. Confused by these events, Lilith doesn't realize what this monster is. Her body is enveloped by vines that resemble something else. The same thing happened to Wang Ye. Huan was also captured. All 3 girls were in erotic poses. They were not just vines, but tentacles that grabbed only the girls. Shield pulling out his sword, about to go on the attack. Quan doesn't understand how tentacles can only attack girls if he is a guy. Lianis began to loosen his grip, which the masturbator is certainly happy about, because he's a surprise girl. But it wasn't to be, and Quan was completely enveloped by living tentacles. Stunned by the sight, Antimagus and Soda take their time to join the fight and save their partners. Shield, chopping up the tentacles with his sword, orders everyone to chop the tentacles to save the girls. Lilith and Wang Ye were freed from the terrible torment. The anti-mage says to find the root of the plant. His heart is definitely somewhere around 10 meters away. He orders you to look for it nearby. The Soda, having freed the tentacles from their ill-fated shackles, saved Juan, devastated by what had happened, who sat silent and motionless. The long-haired guy with the axe realized that the plant has no eyes, but it still finds its victim, which means it reacts to vibrations. With one swing of the axe, Soda chops down and throws the tree to the ground. This guy's guesses were correct. The vines flew towards the felled tree. Grasping the vines, the monk pulled the end toward him with a sharp pull. He pulled a huge ball of plant from the ground, from which the tentacles were coming. The vines gradually began to envelope the monk. Asiulo, no stranger to the world, reapplies his technique. He frees himself from the plant's embrace by ripping the vines to shreds in a rage. The bald guy thanks Shield for his concern. Footsteps are heard from the forest. The thug put out his sword and stood in a defense stance. A squad of Golden Rose mercenaries, led by a leader named Alina and her deputy Vinilon, peeked out from behind the bushes. The players breathed a sigh of relief after all. These were people just like them. Alina addresses the crowd. Hi! Excuse me. Can you please tell me, is there a village anywhere nearby? We would like to stop for the night. Shield asked who they were and why they had come here, to which the girl introduced herself as a band of mercenaries from a very distant land. They had come to the Hangduan Ridge to gather medicinal plants for the profession. The monk politely made a small bow saying that he welcomed the healer squad. Vinilona ran up to him. She liked the bald guy's politeness. Soda and Lilith tensed at what they saw. The anti-mage pushes Wang Ye and asks her to sneak back to the village just in case and notify the head and curator of the situation. He asks her to leave quietly. The girl makes her way through the crowd towards Shinshu village. After listening to what the mercenaries have to say, Shield suggests that they stay in their village. It is a quiet and peaceful, and most importantly safe place, and the head of the village is always happy to welcome guests. Tai sneezes savagely. In Chinese culture, when a person sneezes, there is a belief that they are either sorely missed or insulted. The disheveled necromancer thinks someone is remembering him with an unkind word again. The head thinks a lot of time has passed, and the mercenaries he gave the assignment to are still gone. Tai is getting worried because he gave the mercenaries a map so they wouldn't get lost. He hopes all is well. Putting on his glasses and sighing heavily, the gray-haired guy says they should be watched just like children. Turns out they were gaming glasses, and he's busy playing a computer game. While at his desk and computer, he is called out loudly by someone. He's annoyed at being distracted. It is Wang Ye who is panicking and looking for the village head to tell him about the situation in the forest. The necromancer pours tea into bowls and says, "He who drinks tea, God gives it to him." He pretended to study the document and drink tea. This guy has a knack for turning situations around quickly. Tai noticed the girl's concern. She reports that some suspicious guests have come to the village. The head interrupts the girl and asks her to find the handler and inform him. She knows what to do. Drowning in self-love, Tai says he's not fit for war, only love, and he can also sing. Wang Ye regretted the first thing she did was to go to the village head. As soon as the front door slammed shut, the necromancer exhaled in relief and sat back down at the computer to play. The girl heard strange sounds and went back to the headman to ask if he was all right, to which the latter, glowing with perfection, replies that Wang Ye was overexcited and she only heard it. Seconds after the door closed, Tai Bullet sat down at his computer to continue playing the game. Wang Ye thinks she's lost her mind. The players kindly led the mercenaries to Xinshu village. A long-haired girl greets the strangers. She introduces herself as the curator of this village. Her name is Song. With her arms spread out to the side, the girl says, "Welcome." The leader of the mercenaries mutually greets the curator. Alina asks if there is a martial arts hall in the village, and what style is it? A girl named Song is the guy who was resurrected by the perverted Tai. His name is Shige. He replies that there is a hall, but no special styles are taught. The curator offers to follow him. He will position the mercenaries in the village. Shige escorts the guests to the village. The Song passes freely through the protective barrier that surrounds the entire village. Shield Vanguard doubted that the outsiders would be able to get through as well. He hoped it would be bloodless. The mercenaries had no trouble getting through this barrier. Shield exhaled a sigh of relief as everything went smoothly. Shige gave a small tour of the village, also saying that not far from the square was the house of the head of Shinsho. A Song with a smile on its face asks guests to make themselves at home. Pointing with my hand to a dog peeing on the door of some house, the handler says you can go to the restroom right there. It's okay. The head, sitting at his computer, smelled an acrid odor. Shige's not happy that Tai's taking it out on the guy. He wants to teach the pervert a lesson. After receiving the information, Alina thanked her handler. Vinalona asks the leader in a whisper the further plan of their actions, for there are so many people around them. The girl talks about how the plan remains the same. The players and residents are nothing. With a sly look, Alina whispers, "Let the party begin!" Players watch as the mercenaries settle into their tents. Shige walks up to the guys and says that everyone is waiting in the martial arts hall. Tonight is going to be a hot night. And also, everyone who participates will be able to get a discount on pumping special class skills through donation at 50% off. Players are very interested in such an action and gladly agreed. They are happy that they can finally pump up their class skills. The curator asks Wang Ye to follow the strangers from a secluded spot. Vanguard Shield asks Song what they'll do if the mercenaries start getting nasty. The guy in the long-haired girl's body says they'll kill everyone in that case. Shinsho Night Martial Arts Hall. Wang Ye comes to the curator with news after being followed. The girl reports that the mercenaries have finished eating and are preparing their equipment for the attack. Shige is not surprised as he expected this. The curator asks everyone to take a jar of antidote and to take it immediately in case of danger. You don't have to worry about the jars. The village head will cover the costs. The players have no questions, and Song tells them to cut to the chase and act on the plan. Shinsho, night, the square where the outsiders had set up. With a sly smile on her face, Alina, applying poison to her sword blade, asks the rest of the mercenaries if she's ready to go on a bounty hunt. Vinalona wants to put on a fire show, that is, burn the entire village to ashes. Licking the blade, the leader says, "By getting rid of the locals, we will free our hands in this area, and the trade route will be beneath us." Returning from her treacherous reverie, Alina realized she had licked the blade smeared with poison. Most likely the poison is so toxic that the girl herself has fallen into a pit of tension. The leader orders Vinalona to bring the antidote right away. The deputy doesn't understand how she managed to poison herself in the middle of nowhere. A scream from the tent startles the other mercenaries. In the absolute silence of the night, the strangers began to act according to their plan. They lit a torch dipped in flammable liquid. Vinalona tossed a burning torch towards the large building of this village to start a massive fire. The girl is pleased with the work done. She had already turned around to leave, but shadows of familiar silhouettes lined up in a row in front of her. The smirk changed to a disgruntled face. She turned around in a rage to find out who was getting high at night. It was the players who realized what the hapless outsiders were up to. They were furious at the insolence of the uninvited guests. With her hand holding the torch, Vinalona covers herself and illuminates the faces of the villagers. The girl didn't think the players would get wind of the nature of their infiltration of the village. Her irritation was replaced by fear. She was already covering her head with her hands. The residents are going after the fool who set the building on fire. There will be no mercy. With her face smashed in blood, clinging to the ground with her fingers, she tries to resist, but all to no avail. The players drag the girl by both feet away from the scene. Mercenary tent. The girls look at the time and wait. The plan was to have a fire, but 10 minutes later, nothing happened. So the old plan of action will be irrelevant. The leader is disappointed in that. One of the mercenaries shouts joyfully that the girls have accomplished their task. She points toward the tent where flames are visible. Alina thinks irritably about the fact that they're in trouble. To check her surroundings, the leader stepped out of the tent. She was in for a surprise. Players standing with lit torches in their hands and beaten mercenaries who had no strength left to resist the crowd. A confused Alina tries to find a way out of the situation and decides to turn the tables. She asks the players for the reason and right to beat up her people. The leader sincerely believes that she can stay in the role of an innocent sheep. Lilith wanted to yell at the insolent face about how it was, as if she wasn't aware of everything. Shijie stopped the girl just in time, placing a hand on her shoulder. Song asks the leader, "Don't you know what they've done?" Alina started yawning and stretching, saying that she wasn't aware of everything that had happened, since the girl had been asleep the whole time. Then the curator says that her girls tried to set fire to Shinsho village. The leader looks around but sees no fire or even a hint of one. Song asks for an explanation for the presence of the torch in her deputy's hands. Alina irritably replies, "Sweetie, the torch is needed to light the way, and besides, she's nearsighted, so she can't go anywhere without a torch." Making a low bow, the mercenary leader personally offers her deepest apologies if her foolish underlings have harmed the residents. Shijie is annoyed by this girl's behavior. She, using cunning, carefully tries to talk teeth to the villagers. Wang Ye whispers to Shield that there is no doubt about the intentions of the mercenaries. They definitely wanted to set the village on fire, and they can't just let them go. The players foiled their actions, but there's no hard evidence, though that doesn't change anything. The anti-mage asks the leader of the mercenaries about the herbs they gather on the ridge. Uncomprehending of the question, Alina says therapeutic, of course. Then the player decided to rip the skin off the sheep with simple facts. Collecting medicinal herbs only once again proves that the mercenary squad is often involved in battles. How many villages have they burned down before? The leader, as before, wriggles out of the situation, saying that when traveling in the mountains, people often get injured, and there is nothing special about gathering medicinal herbs. Continuing to pull the sheep's wool, Auntie Magus remarks that the soaped boots suggest that the girl doesn't travel all that often. One last fact, the monk says, "One last fact you can't escape. You have blisters on your palms from frequent use of weapons, which also proves that you are not a simple herbalist squad." Pointing a finger at Alina, taken by surprise, Asiulo says that this is irrefutable proof that their squad is a mercenary assassin squad. The leader tries to dismiss that calluses from battles with wild animals. The shield got tired of pretending and admitted that they knew everything from the beginning and tried to catch them by the hand. Alina is stunned by the thug's words and doesn't understand how this could have happened. Tai appears behind her, scaring the hell out of her. The leader asks who the gray-haired guy is. The curator shouts to the head that the outsiders are trying to harm the village and its inhabitants. Deliberately pretending not to understand anything, the necromancer tries to find out what's going on. Alina is tired of the whole circus. She seizes the head of the village as a victim and, threatening him with a sword smeared with poison, demands that the villagers let the squad leave the place in peace. Of course, the players, led by the curator, were very scared for their head man. Perversely, Tai swept the leader's soft breasts. Since this happens erratically, the necromancer began to linger on her chest, hugging her around the waist. Alina tensed at the idiot's behavior. Soda, looking at the scene in progress, drools with envy. In fairness, he spoke to the mercenary leader. "Hey, head, let the brigand go. Oh, I mean bandit, let our head go. Better take me." In his words, one could hear the desire for a better life. Tai, defending his adorableness, rules out all options, saying it's too dangerous. Oddly enough, Juan volunteered to be a hostage too. Pointing at Alina, who is being hugged by an eager-looking head, Quan calls her breasts two things. The pervert is overcome with greed and orders them back to the village, saying there is only room for one hostage. Soda is angry at Quan for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. He doesn't understand why this idiot has breasts in a woman's body and why he's competing for a brigand now. Huang Quan is not embarrassed by anything. Proudly and with his head held high, he replies that this is a different, new sensation. The tavern owner asks the curator why all the spectacle, if these brigands Tai can kill them like bedbugs in one or two. The head doesn't do it because he's the ultimate pervert. Clamping down harder on the smug pervert, Alina demands that everyone shut their mouths. The girl continues to demand the same thing. If you don't want your head's head to turn into scrambled eggs, then let us leave immediately. She is already annoyed with everything, while Tai is enjoying her breasts in the meantime. The curator said the girl didn't have the guts to hurt the head. Shige then turns to the mercenary leader with a mysteriously covetous smile, asking Alina if she has the guts to punch this idiot in the head. As long as the bandit is determined, the pervert doesn't like the idea. Then, after a short conversation, with a slight movement of his hand, hitting the handle of his sword on his head, the leader throws Tai off like a bug. The girl shows that she can do what the curator says, but the brigand assures him that she can hurt him more. Shige wanted to teach the chapter a lesson, and he succeeds. The guy in the girl's body refuses to believe Alina until the moment he sees the bump on his head from the blows. The annoyed brigand began to demonstrate that she didn't care about the hostage and would stab him as she pleased. The curator continues to provoke the leader with the words, "Is that the best you can do? I don't believe it. Take off his pants." Shige wants to get even. Then, crying, lying on his chest, Tai screams that he believes the brigand, that she is capable of anything. The pervert asked to let the mercenaries leave with him, to which Shige gave permission for the safety of the village head. The players heard the curator giggle, which made them very tense. It seems like a serious situation, but Shige himself in a girl's body is laughing with his own schadenfreude. The mercenaries leave. The leader, still threatening the village head with his sword, leads him away. The pervert pretends to be a victim, but in reality, he only enjoys the moment and the soft breasts. Wang Ye urges the curator to take action, thinking that it will be too late later. The song tells the players that the time is late and orders everyone to get back to their business. The crowd of guys don't quite know what's going on, and they are confused by the handler's behavior. The mercenaries with the perverted hostage stood in front of a semicircle of wild beasts. Alina was startled by the number of mobs. She had never seen them attack in a group before. The pervert said it was all because of the greed of the mercenary leader. The girl pushed the head away from her and held out her sword. She orders him to answer who he really is. With a smile on his face, Tai says he is the head of the village, but unusual, not like everyone else. Caressing the wild wolf, the pervert confesses, "Anyway, I'm the one who hired you. I also sent you the contract to destroy the village. Fortunately, you turned out to be very feminine, but your greed has ruined you. Don't expect a quick death now." Alina feels very doomed and feels like she is in a hopeless situation. She tells him that she can sense from her seat how powerful he is of all the mercenaries combined. The leader asks to let them leave, and for that they are ready to fulfill any order or wish of the head. Then the pervert asked to become his wives and he would make them his personal harem. The girls chose the gallows over the pervert. They choose to die with honor. Squeezing out tears, Tai pleads with the girls not to be a jerk. At the same moment his face becomes serious. He says that they cannot escape him by going to the other world. He will resurrect them and make them his wives. The gray-haired guy reminds them that he is a necromancer. Using the energy, he gives the mercenaries one last chance. Shinsho Village, early morning. Players standing in front of a booth with some announcement don't understand what it says because they don't know the Paelia language. Then Quan stands proudly and mocks the players, for they laughed at him while he was learning the Paelia language. He translated what the announcement said. There will be a meeting where the living head will speak. After hearing this, the players began to disperse, saying, "That's it? I see, we were hoping for nothing. Boring. I wish he had been nailed." Juan didn't expect such a reaction from the others. The guy in the girl's body is pissed off. Not that everyone broke up, but that he didn't even get a thank you for the kind translation. Shinsho, the square where the assembly is held, led by Tai. The head pushes his speech. "Dear villagers, yesterday I was saved by an unknown hero. The unknown one defeated the mercenaries and found a map of the area in their inventory. It is a rather detailed map of our area, which naturally clearly shows our village. The map itself was not made by the mercenaries themselves, and it seems that we were discovered by other factions earlier than I and you would have liked. Demonstrating the map, Tai says that since bearded times, the Hengduan Range has separated the eastern continent from the rest, and almost no one could afford to travel between countries. Along the ridge is a trade route where rare but wealthy traders march between countries. If the map is okay, the villagers will have the opportunity to open this route and make contact with other countries and boost the economy. It's time for players to go beyond Xinshou village and learn about neighboring countries. Quan was undoubtedly pleased by the head's words. It brings tears to their eyes because they won't have to work in the kitchen or the tavern. Soda, drawing his sword in anticipation of noble battles. While everyone is rejoicing, Wang Ye approaches the head with a question. She is worried about the mercenaries and hopes they won't return to their village again. He'd completely forgotten about those outlaw girls. After clapping a couple times, Tai told the mercenaries to come out and say hello. Pristine and radiant, they came in practically what they wore. The head brought them back to life. The players are in a stupor at what's happening. The former leader of the mercenaries, Alina, awkwardly greets the crowd. It made Soda's nose bleed. They don't understand what's going on. Quan pounced towards the head with words about him being a pervert. Though mentally thinking about the reason why the Necromancer didn't share girls with a guy in a woman's body, Tai becomes nasty to everyone after this situation. He tries to explain something, but they don't listen to him. The head came up with a tale that a certain hero who saved him had used a special magic on the mercenaries that erased all their memories. He thought they might still be useful and asked to be gentle with them. Said words didn't dispel the situation in regards to Tai. The players began to think the most unsavory thoughts. I'm sure it was the chapter who asked that hero to help him erase their memories. The chapter is scum. Damn pervert. Who's a certain unknown hero, huh? Sounds pretty suspicious. These words hit Tai's self-esteem. The people don't know that necromancer, and he'll have to put up with the rumors that have gone viral. Annoyed, the pervert asks to stop laughing at him. He doesn't understand why they hate him so much, and also asks them to insult him at least half-heartedly, because he can hear everything. In order to reduce the fervor of the players, the head got down to business and asked if they had chosen their game classes. Vanguard Shield has chosen the Mercenary class. Soda remembered about the skill Martial Arts, and thought that it needed to be pumped urgently, otherwise it would be too late in the evening. The head is shocked by what he heard. After the long-haired guy's words, everyone began to disperse. Tai is disappointed at how much he is disrespected, as the head in this village. Xinshou Martial Arts Hall. A crowd of people are trying to get inside, saying that they have come to learn class skills and military craft. Then the curator called the players' attention to what the table said. The kids study what's written. There are certain requirements for a particular class. There are 5 classes in total: Swordsman, Tank, Brigand, Berserker, and Hunter. The cost of changing class is different for each, as well as the skill mastery and the required character trait. The shield notes that the requirements are very serious for performance. In addition to the attributes, you need to have the class skills pumped up. Lilith turned hopefully to the curator and asked if there were any other classes. Shijie said there was another class and continued. You can join our chapter's harem. Gender doesn't matter. If you can breathe and fart, that's enough. To activate this hidden class, you must kiss the chapter for 15 minutes. This special class will not affect your main character class. Players don't even know how to react to something like that. While saying that, somewhere out there, Tai sneezed. That wasn't what Lilith meant, but she didn't care anymore. She was happy with her current classes now. Vanguard Shield says they're a little short on attributes for class selection, and suggests going to Hengduan Ridge to finish their levels there. Chapter House, Tai sits with a map. Lying on the bed with quill in hand, the Necromancer studies the map. The system called his name. Tai says hello to her but has other things on his mind. He's confident as he's busy and wondering, will the girl find something to get to? She looks at the Necromancer in silence. Still also silent, she grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. System, with his hand raised and holding Tai by the collar of his clothes, looks fierce. The head is very scared and asks the girl what she's going to do with him. The pervert was prescribed a severe slap. He asked what she had slapped him for. The system doesn't know what he means, saying it with an indifferent face. With tears in his eyes and a red cheek, Tai reminds her that she hit him 10 seconds ago. The system applies its powers. Nesser, command. Erase all slapping information between 11 hours 1 minute and 51 second and 11 hours 1 minute and 52 seconds. The head is angry and bites his tongue at his helplessness. He thinks the girl just wanted to hit him, but couldn't find a reason. The gray-haired girl in the maid costume notes that with the introduction of in-game classes, players have started to band together as mercenaries. They're still residents of Shinsho Village, but this has led to a reduction in free hands. The girl decided that they needed players still alive. Tai isn't too eager because he thinks he'll have to retrain them all over again. The system says it will be different this time and they will do things more efficiently. Nesser needs professional online game players, according to the girl, who have a lot of experience and they are without signs of toxic behavior. And also, professionals should understand the basics of the game. Be friendly and patient. The head asks the girl to stop. He thinks they need regular players, not a bunch of robots. The gray-haired girl asks if the guy understands what this is all about. She asks him, "Why do you think everyone in Nesser is all about fighting? Why do most sentient beings, including real players, devote their lives to war? The local gods guide beings along the path of war, but this obviously prevents progress. The emergence of the newer, more developed. War predetermines the rise and fall of individual countries and nations. Knowing this, intelligent beings continue to wage endless wars that lead to nothing. All these beings are a bunch of ambitious living organisms born at the origin of the world. They are slaves to their faith and puppets of their own desires and fears. Therefore, if one wishes to create a world without wars, one must first banish these thoughts from the heads of the native beings, as well as banish their gods. To get rid of the local gods, it is necessary to populate this world with intellectually advanced players throughout the map of the world Nesser. You can also influence the laws of this world, and eventually take this world under your control. Day, Hangduan Ridge. Bright sunlight floods these huge ridges. Tai, along with System, arrived at some sort of cave, probably located inside this mountain. It turned out to be a secret tunnel through the ridge. The head started to whine. He doesn't understand why the girl took him and not the deputy. The System reminded him, "You're a Nesser employee and you're obligated to do chores like augmenting maps. The curator has other tasks and you are responsible for improving the quality of the game experience." After her words, Tai sighs doomfully. The gray-haired guy found some button on the tunnel wall and activated it. A mysterious door swung open, which startled the head wildly. With a scornful look, the System asks what's wrong with him. In her mind, she doesn't want to hear that he's also afraid of the dark. Pointing to the secret passage that has opened up, Tai tells the girl with trembling hands what has happened. The girl in the maid costume was slightly surprised by this. Looking at the table, she says there is no information in the system about the secret passage. They need to index it and put it in the database with the maps. They went into the passage and down a long staircase. The Necromancer remarks that it looks like a descent into hell. The girl notes that in a few days they need to draw information about this on the map. Tai, realizing how torturous this is, suggests making it a quest for the players. The System gives him an ultimatum and promises him that if it's that hard, it can take away his immortality and abilities and leave him here alone. With sweat dripping off his forehead, the narcissistic idiot dared to say that the girl couldn't scare him since he was a necromancer and had a carload of courage. A decomposing skull appears in front of his face with a long tongue on a lunge. Such a sudden appearance scared the hell out of the jerk. Jumping on the System out of fear, he inarticulately started talking about there being an angry spirit. The girl responds with, "What was that you were saying about your courage? A wagon and a whole cart?" A terrified Tai cries and swears he saw a spirit. Looking into the eyes of the coward, the girl says that she does not understand how he could be afraid of one spirit. Let there be 10 of them. He's a necromancer, and she doesn't understand how he can be afraid of all of this. Like a child, he mutters about how necromancers can be afraid of all sorts of evil things too. He whines that she despises him. The System stumbled to a dead end of this passage, while Tai was still hanging on to it in fear as well. The girl wasn't surprised he wasn't in the System. That was the reason for leaving the tunnel in this state. A girl in a maid's outfit scanned the area. There are no bugs or errors within a 300-meter radius. She will block the passage here so that the players won't wander around too much. The System tells the coward, "I need the players to get through the tunnel in the ridge to the Duchy of Connell as quickly as possible. This place has long since lost its former glory. It is in a fierce decline, and there are several clans vying for power. The aristocrats are locked up in castles and sitting on their gold, while the poor are left to starve to death. A civil war is about to break out in Connell, The system wants to know how the players will act and which side they will take. It also wants to add something. The Necromancer listens to her attentively and waits for her to continue. She also asked the coward to get off of her, but he would slide off as soon as they got out of the tunnel. City of Glamorgan, Duchy of Connell, winter. Players in robes trudge through the white trees. They want to go inside the city. A lightly dressed poor man sits in the snow near the gate. Chewing his bread, he noticed movement. More specifically, our players, who he stopped and asked who they were. Whispering, they began to decide who would talk to the man who had stopped them. There was a commotion among them. And of course, the guys treacherously pushed Huang Quan out. Coughing, he says they need to enter the city. The man is fine with everything, except that he asks for 2 copper coins from each person for admission. With a smirk on his face, Quan reached under his robe with his hand. It was easier than he had imagined. The guy tossed the man a bag of gold coins, telling him to buy his wife and children gifts, remembering to thank him. The poor man is stunned at the amount of gold coins. The man escorted them. When all the players had passed, Soda walked behind them. The poor man had said not to let anyone trip over the threshold, but the long-haired man did the opposite. Exhaling heavily, Lilith removes her hood, for they have finally reached the city. Children, dressed for the weather, sit wrapped in rags near a fire. People so poor they eat rats alive. This city is shrouded in darkness and hopelessness. People do not live, but survive. The players are scared to believe what's going on because things are bad in this town. A small and soiled hand tugged at his sleeve. Lilith was approached by a child. It was a girl who was shivering with cold and hunger. A kind-hearted blonde girl holds out food to the little girl. The girl, biting into what Lilith had given her, cried, thanking her, calling her good auntie. The girl calms the little girl down, saying she'll give her more food. Some aggressive man demands to give him everything. The girl is terrified of it. Lilith was infuriated by some uncle's insolence. From her right knee, she smacked the poor man's lower jaw, calling him a badass jerk, yelling at him to get off the little girl. The aggressive man flew several meters backwards, rolling in the snow. While the poor guy was running away, she was yelling at him to get out of here. Lilith covers the girl with herself, saying there is nothing to fear and he will not return. The little girl, crying with doom, says it was her father. The blonde-haired girl realizes she has made a huge mistake. Lilith feels very guilty and asks the girl why she didn't say so right away. The girl wants to go apologize to him. Sobbing bitterly, the little girl recounts, "My mom is seriously ill. I wanted to get some food so she could eat a little, but my dad doesn't care about my mom and me. When he sees the food, he tries to take it all away." The blonde-haired girl hugs the little girl, trying to comfort her, assuring her that her mom will be okay. Vanguard Shield notices someone walking towards them and informs the others. Lilith is getting sick of this, so she looks to see who's there. Exhausted, hungry, and frozen, the men trudge toward the players. Wang Ye is nervous and thinks it's the homeless. Some guy walks through the crowd toward the players. He addresses them as strangers and clarifies that the uninvited guests are a grisly mercenary unit. Quan calms the crowd by saying that they are simple hunters and have nothing to do with the named unit. The people disperse, and the guy continues to ask questions. With a sigh of relief, he asks what brought them to Glamorgan, and also advises them to leave as soon as possible. Strangers are not particularly welcome in this city. Good-natured Lilith looks at the little girl. The girl wants to take the girl home first. A guy in the crowd agrees to escort them, but says that the town is full of brigands, and if they go in the wrong place, they could probably be attacked. The blonde-haired girl gladly accepted this tramp's help. Quan asks his uncle what happened to this town. Why is everything so bad here? Then the stern man says that Juan is naive, because such chaos is going on all over the country. Said words come as a shock to the players. They certainly didn't expect to learn that an entire country was in such decline. A man tells him that the once prosperous duchy hasn't survived a couple years of drought and endless locust attacks. The aristocrats can afford to buy their crops for a fortune, while the poor have finished their supplies last year. The neighboring duchies of Arslan and Silmet have been at war with each other for years, and it is almost impossible to get food from there. The neighboring duchies of Arslan and Silmet have been at war with each other for years, and it is almost impossible to get food there. For 5 years, the Duke of Glamorgan had been gathering soldiers in the castle to guard his ass. He even hired mercenaries from the Grizzly Squad to spot control the local people. He doesn't give a damn about what's going on in the city. The players realize that the city is about to come to an end. Quan suggests returning to Shinsho village and swinging further on the rats. The baby looks the other way. A woman lying on the snow, covered with a piece of cloth. Her face is troubled, her color unnatural. It's the girl's gravely ill mother. Baby wakes up her mommy saying she found her food. The girl sobs uncontrollably next to her mother. Lilith sits next to her, just to support her. The girl is sad too, looking at all this. Swan warns the guys that they have company. They're surrounded by a crowd of people. They're trapped. Juan again talks about being blown away by the realism of this game. The same hobo says with a smirk that he warned about brigands. The guy had his hair in a ponytail and it turned out he was a wanted man. His posters were hanging on the walls of houses in the city. Quan now recognized the wanted Reed Kreider. With a sly grin, the outlaw says he planned to take all the gear and food from the strangers and dump the dead bodies on the dogs for food. But he realized that the guys really weren't grizzlies. Glaring sternly, he informs me that he has a better idea. Shinshu Village, head house. Tai is talking to one of the players. You say Reed Kreider is inviting you to join the ranks of the resistance? I wonder if he's suggesting you team up to overthrow Connell's government. Lilith shouts that they are already preparing for an uprising. She hears that they are going to attack Humphrey's castle first to replenish their provisions. The head asks her a logical question. Who is going to rule after the overthrow of the Glamorgan government, and are there any competent politicians among them? Tai continues to tell her, relying on the report that Connell is not only made up of Glamorgan and has its own army everywhere. He also knows that the city of Glamorgan is just a vassal of the Simalu. Have the players thought about what they will do with an entire Simalu army after the coup? Even if they succeed, there will still be a shortage of provisions. Or are the players going to attack everyone, living off of other people's money? The headman wonders if the players have a plan at all. The girl has nothing to answer about what was said. She wants a yes or no answer about help. She is sick of the chatter. She cries out with pain in her heart that the head didn't see the terror in the eyes of the locals. But when they saw the players, they had hope. Tai didn't say anything back to Lilith. Angry at her helplessness, the blonde-haired girl turned towards the exit and tossed back the words, "Shut up all you want! You just wasted your time!" The front door slammed shut with a clatter. The head exhaled doomedly. A system levitating in mid-air, he asked why Tai was so angry with her. That didn't sound at all like an empty-headed man. Then the proud, narcissistic headman said that in her eyes he saw his young self, who at one time was also sure that everything was within his reach. The girl does not comment on what was said. Tai flopped down on the bed and began to tell. And then I was banished from Palia. And now I'm almost a bum. Just an idiot who was expelled from a famous faculty because of 5 pennies. I missed my opportunity to become an elite magician. Now I'm forced to wander for the rest of my days. The necromancer, lying on his bed, reminisces with a smile about a bygone time. The system says it's a weird bug. She doesn't remember anything about him. She needs to fix Tai's description. He got up and asked the girl's opinion on the player's plan. The girl in the maid suit says she doesn't care, is only interested in the outcome, but thinks the game is worth the candle. She only cares about the comfort, safety, and pleasure of the players. Looking into the necromancer's eyes, the system says, "Those are your duties too, by the way, Tai." A crowd of players gathered at the square in Shinsho. Shield informs them that the handler can't go with them until the head gives the okay. Lilith is very angry that neither the head nor the curator assist and help them. The girl thinks that they are able to cope without them. Tai appeared out of nowhere, placing his palm on the girl's shoulder, asking her to repeat what she said. It scared the hell out of Lilith. The blonde-haired enraged wonder yells at the head, not letting him get a word in edgewise. The headman informs them that the players have enough data about Western Glamorgan, but he asks them not to rush into action. Tai wants to give the boys a few quests, the reward for which will help the good cause. Quan glowed with joy upon hearing the word reward. And the reward for the players is the narcissistic jerk's participation in their crazy adventure. The girls are judging their head out loud. Players believe that the head should help without quests, but he just a shirk. Then Tai reveals his trump cards. You do realize that in the heat of battle, someone is bound to die, right? And I can help the fallen heroes, such as teleporting them to the village and treating their wounds. In their squad, he would participate as a first-class healer. Special combat challenge, the battle for Glamorgan. The town is on the verge of collapse. Can they, as players, overthrow the local government to save the locals? Explanation from the head. The headman wanted to help you, but the hurtful words of the players have upset him. Therefore, you need to do some errands to make the headman kind again. Objective: to regain Tai's favor. Reward: the village head will be on your side for the duration of the Battle for Glamorgan event. Grizzly Mercenary Squad. Someone is shocked that strangers have been in town and they didn't know it. The subordinate says that the uninvited guests left yesterday, but returned again with 44 people, according to the gatekeeper. The strangers paid him a pass in copper coins, which she also kindly took for herself. The leader inquires about the whereabouts of the guests from a subordinate. The girl reports that they are in a tent camp where the homeless live. The deputy leader suggested that the outsiders sided with the rebels led by Reed Kreider. Then the leader says, "If that's the case, then we should give the strangers a warm welcome so that life doesn't seem like honey. Let's go say hello." A concerned subordinate says there was some strange man with the strangers. The boss was interested in the man. Why strange and what's wrong with him? The headquarters of the rebel army. People are standing around a huge table with a map on it. Quan introduces everyone to their village head. Reed Kreider called Tai a legendary chapter. Guy is excited to meet the Necromancer. The Vanguard Shield explains that the headman is a first-class healer and his talent will be indispensable in the upcoming battle. Reed doubts the word of his new buddies. He wants to test their chapter. Huang Quan is furious at the insolence of this type. The guy in the girl's body knows that they are helping them from the bottom of their hearts, and this uncle still dares to doubt the strength of their head. Quan put his right hand on Reed's right shoulder. He is in a stupor. With a cute expression on his face, Quan says that Kreider himself wanted to test the chapter's abilities and gives him that opportunity. Then he knees the poor guy in the groin with all his might. Reed Cruiser experiences 7 circles of hell. The guy in the tail feels his balls crack, and Swan asks the head to demonstrate his skills. Tai is fed up. There was a solidarity of feeling kicked in the balls at the Necromancer, judging by how tense he was.
Pet the cat.